What's up? Red leather, yellow leather.
All right. Welcome to the Devil's Work podcast, where we examine the soft, moist underbelly of cinema. We watch disturbing films so you guys don't have to. My name is Evelyn, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Sideshow and Skeptic.
Hey.
Yo.
Hey.
What's good?
What's bad?
All of it.
Today we're talking about a French movie called Titane, which came out last year, 2021.
And up until a week ago, I've been pronouncing it Titane.
Titane.
So, whatever. We're here to learn. We're here to grow.
It is French for titanium.
See, so I'm not wrong.
There you go. I mean, yeah, that's how we would say it.
Exactly.
It's directed by Julia Ducournau.
The first
Love her so much.
first woman director of the pod.
There you go. And she goes hard.
Yeah, she is the first woman director. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's so fun.
She's
Yeah.
sort of like, her stuff could be compared to, it's got some Cronenberg in it. It's got some,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Motherfucking Lily. Dude,
Gas
So
or no.
much.
yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think Cronenberg is a fan.
That's
So-
awesome.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
And
Yeah.
probably vice versa, if I had to guess.
No,
Yeah,
I don't even-
yeah.
There's so much DNA of a Cronenberg movie in this. Yeah.
I was reading that she was saying that, like, essentially when she writes movies, she stops watching movies because she doesn't want to, like,
Yeah.
accidentally pull too much influence from things.
It's like a musician.
But she was like, at the end of the day, everything that I do is going to, like, live and breathe Cronenberg. Because
Awesome.
like how can it not? But I
so
I
cool.
try to, like, sequester myself when I'm in these creative modes.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to know, like, what other people are doing right now. I just want to do this idea
Yeah.
that I have.
That's kind of been my experience with watching this movie, because like I didn't fully understand it at first, and I like hard resisted the urge to look up anybody's
Anything,
thoughts
yeah.
on it,
Yeah.
because I wanted to feel it out myself. And I watched it 4 times now, and I think I've gotten to a deeper understanding every time. I think
Now
you
we're
have to.
scratching the surface.
Yeah. But yeah, what did you guys think?
I think even, like, compared to Suicide Club, and I know it's, like, you know, kind of slim picking so far, but of these 5 films that we've discussed so far, this is, like, by far the most onion-like of them, the most layered, like,
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous, beautiful. The thing that people compared it to specifically is Crash, which is kind of
Yeah.
interesting
I still
to
haven't
me.
seen it yet, and I
I've-
really am dying to.
I've seen the show and the movie, and I liked them when I was younger, like maybe middle school or like high school, but not really since then. But I don't feel like it's as Cronenberg as, like, you know, like you expect from like a Videodrome or a Scanners.
Yeah.
You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
Like it's totally different.
Yeah.
And it is that other side of him, you know, like in his more serious, like, dramas for sure. But yeah, I feel like it's the other side of him that she's pulling from, not so much the Crash side.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, my initial feelings on this were, I mean, I didn't even make the Cronenberg connection until recently, actually. But, like, yeah, that was a reason why it was so powerful for me. Because, I mean, body horror for me is one of my favorite and least favorite genres. It's so hard to watch.
It's a cruel mistress.
This, I'll tell you when we get there, but this movie made me stand up and start pacing. And that is a high compliment.
That's fantastic.
Fuck yeah,
Are you
dude.
going to tell us which parts?
Yeah, he's like-
no, one part in particular, and I will definitely, like, tell you everything that was going on when that happened.
Yeah, dude. It's such a shocking and visceral experience when you first watch this movie. Like,
Visceral.
it is so. It keeps you guessing every
it's a
single,
very unpredictable movie.
every single scene.
Did I see about this, or did one of you say about this? Like, it's an unpredictable movie, like, beforehand, like, literally in terms of, like.
I think we did.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like.
So absolutely, more so than anything I've ever seen. There's no like subtle foreshadowing hints at the beginning forming this arc. Like I don't think I've ever seen a film like devoid of foreshadowing. And if I had before this, I probably would have been like, not a lot of this is connected, but like, holy crap, this movie.
It is there in there. To be fair, like when you rewatch it, you're like, oh, okay, I can see some of like.
Well, a tiny bit, a tiny bit,
tiny.
but it's like this background question that you're wondering. That I personally was thinking in a completely different direction in my head. I was like, that's going to come up, but it's going to be this like completely different thing than what happens.
The nature of how the movie is and how it starts with this female character, like even the tagline of this movie is kind of a spoiler. Like I never heard the tagline. So like I was utterly surprised when these things came about, but I can read you like this super simple premise that is presented for this film is: following a series of unexplained crimes, a former firefighter is reunited with his son who has been missing for 10 years.
Such a fucking...
And then it's a movie about this woman, Alexia.
It's such a... That's not a good indicator of that movie.
It's a bad tagline.
Yeah, because like when I was... when this whispers started to come about this movie, it was presented to me as that movie where she fucks a car. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I'll watch that.
That's all you need. That gets me in the seat.
Yeah.
Well,
those things are not
just
related.
You, Joe. Look, if there's a cheap joke to be made, I'm all over it. And
that was a good one. All right, that was fair. That's really good.
That's what this movie is.
Yeah, literally. That's the line I've always told people who haven't seen this movie. Like I'm like, because I can't give anything away about this movie, which is why we're trying to stay so spoiler free right now. Initially, go ahead.
The way you two told me it, I genuinely believed that was the tagline, because the way you said it was like so concise and and like got me in, because you two both just said a woman fucks a car and then this happens.
That's it.
And,
that's all you need.
And to me, that would be brilliant on a poster. I'd be like, what?
Exactly. That's a double take fucking moment right there. Absolutely. Which that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm so glad that Evelyn and I went to go watch this when it was released in theaters, and like we went in.
Oh my god, lucky!
Yeah, and we were like up front too.
We were
it was like
3 seats back from the screen.
It was so good. It was like, well, we were like one of like maybe 4 or 5 people in that theater.
Yeah.
Like 2 of
we should have
us,
checked how many people were there at the beginning and how many people
at the end. Yeah, it was such a fucking wild experience. Like it was nothing that could have ever, like there was nothing that could have prepared us for what we were about to watch. And yeah, 20 minutes, not even 20 minutes, and 15 minutes in this movie, 10 minutes in, I'm fucking screaming at the screen. I am going nuts in that movie theater, dude. I was losing my mind.
The first half hour is just nonstop. Just it keeps setting this level of like, okay, the dust is going to settle and you know, like this is going to be for a while the biggest thing we've seen, and then it just goes so much more over the top, but it does that like 6 times in a row. And then
exactly.
And then like the back 45 minutes of the movie happens.
Yeah. It's such a fucking straight the tone.
Which, to be clear, I am complimenting this movie.
Yeah.
Like to be clear, we all love this movie. So
right off the bat too. Like I have to say that this is one of my all-time favorite films.
It's amazing.
Its bewildering nature is what like absolutely defines it, and again, similarly to The Untamed. It's just like, this just encapsulates everything I love about this type of movie. It's just so fresh and so nuanced and so rewatch worthy and so dissectable.
Yeah, I paid for this movie like 3 different times. Initially when we went to go watch it in theaters, I bought it for Evelyn for Christmas, and then I
Thank
bought
you
it.
for that.
You're welcome. And then I bought it again just to have it at home at digital. Like, and I'll probably buy it again to have a physical copy too.
Oh, if there's a steelbook,
That's what I'm saying.
I'm getting that shit.
Exactly. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So like, I will
a
always.
Titane book.
I want it. I want it so bad, dude.
That'd
But
be awesome.
I've always been a proponent for like pay for these movies, like pay let these directors make
Give
more
Julia
movies.
your money.
Absolutely.
I'm the same way with movies and with video games, because like both of them are art forms where a single art piece takes a team of hundreds of people,
So much
millions
work.
of dollars, and thousands and thousands of man hours to make it. So like, you know, if games or movies, you know, cost a little bit more, that's just the price of supporting art. So,
And I mean, right now you can watch it for free on Hulu, at least in the States. That's where
yeah,
that's where
absolutely. And then just next time you see her name attached to a film, go out to a theater and see it, because
Please.
I absolutely will be doing so.
Oh,
Yep.
dude, you gotta see
Yep.
Raw.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh,
I'm
it's so good.
I'm very excited to after this, and I'm happy she only has 2 films, because it keeps me from having a huge backlog now, and it makes it easy to be a completionist towards her films.
Oh yeah, and that'll get its own episode eventually too. Raw is
Oh, for sure.
definitely getting its own
Yeah,
episode.
not surprised. Not
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah.
Anything that she makes, I am in for after this.
Absolutely.
1000%. So up top, we want to give the trigger warnings.
So we've got murder, mutilation,
Plenty
gore,
of it. Plenty of it.
self-harm, abortion,
A lot of it.
drug use in the form of injection,
Yeah, a lot of needle drugs.
sexual harassment, incessant nudity,
Yeah, that's true.
and blatant use of metaphors.
You know what? Too, I'm just realizing, because I'm looking at my notes and it's pretty up top from the beginning, that they do show some very realistic surgery.
Yeah.
Good point.
Like
That's
very
true.
quickly at the beginning, but like when I was
I
watching
think that
it,
falls in line with gore.
I think so too. But it's like,
Surgery is a specific thing, though.
yeah, gore
Yeah.
is like,
Surgery is the opposite of gore.
yeah,
In a way.
Yeah, gore is like kind of can be sort of unrealistic, and you expect like an
Yeah.
ungodly amount of blood and things like that.
Yeah.
Surgery is just like, oh God, is that what that really looks like? Like,
This is
you
just
know-
what
you
we
know.
are on the inside, bro.
Yeah. Just for phobic people out there, just so they know.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with that, I think we're gonna hand it off to Evelyn. But yeah, you guys, please go watch this movie. Like, if you haven't watched this movie at this point, we would highly, like, all 3 of us collectively, I think I can safely speak for us, we would highly recommend go watching this movie
Please watch this
before
movie.
you get into this conversation. Like for some of these episodes, I would say a couple, like majority of them, I wouldn't say majority, we were very young. But for a lot of these episodes, you don't actually have to go watch the movie. The conversation is very, you're going to benefit very much so if you're following along with the conversation after you've seen the movies. But this is one that it's almost like required viewing, man.
Yeah, you want to be surprised by this one.
And go in as blind as fucking possible. Do not look up shit about this movie.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we'd like to think that it can work for if you don't want to watch the movie, or if you don't care about spoilers, then you can like also be part of the conversation type thing. But yeah, this one is under lock and key until you see the movie.
Exactly. No excuses. All right, man. Take it away.
Yeah. Well, going into this knowing it's a movie about a woman who fucks a car, and it starts, the like opening credits are like underneath the bottom of a car that's running,
like, yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, what the fuck is the whole fucking movie about cars?
Dude, it's like super, I put like super erotic close-ups of pipes.
Yeah, they're just like showing you the parts of the car, and then the sound of the engine becomes the sound of a little person
Yep.
going, and a kid in the backseat of a car, and she's annoying the fuck out of her father, who is glaring at her and like making noises and kicking his seat, and he's like, "Stop it!" And
But
yes,
he doesn't talk to her until the end of the scene, though. He doesn't actually say "stop it," which could have stopped this whole damn thing.
yeah,
We wouldn't have a movie.
He's very clearly really fucking annoyed, but he's
he's just trying to drown her out with music.
Yeah. Yep.
God.
And and they just clearly fucking hate each other.
Yeah,
and
she seems very like dead stare towards him like the entire first half of this movie.
I thought about him hating her, but I did not think about her hating him. And she's and because when she's kicking the seat, I'm just like sitting here. I mean, like, you know, I have a lot of kids in my family, but I'm not interested in having kids. And so when things like this happen, me and Amanda usually look at each other and are like, "Oh, fucking kids." so we weren't actually thinking about that there was interplay back and forth. We were just like, "Oh, she's a kid, so she just does things." And
man, fuck them kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's just like trying to rustle his jimmies, and he's like really ignoring her. So she undoes her seatbelt, and she's about to like crawl into the back of the car or something, and he's like, "Sit down!" And he crashes the car super hard. He like whips the car around, and it hits a stone block, and it's like a wide shot, but you can see that her head has hit the window super hard, and there's blood on the window. Yeah,
I thought there was blood on the road initially, but on a rewatch, I figured out it was like something like from the car. I think flew out the window and like landed on. It was like red on the floor. I forgot exactly what it was, but
I wonder.
Yeah, I thought it was her head.
Yeah.
I wonder if it might have been like how they fill the like water or the sand things on the side of the road.
The barrels.
Oh yeah, I think it was those barrels. Yeah. That might have been it exactly. I mean, do we want to get the?
I think we'll go back there.
We'll go back there.
Yeah,
Okay.
We'll give it a minute.
All right. Okay. I'm just excited and caffeinated up. Let's do this.
So we see her. The side of her head is open. She's having surgery. They're putting this titanium plate on her skull.
Oh, that's why they call it that.
She said the thing.
Yeah. So she's getting all patched up, and she's got one of those like crazy neck braces that's like this like scaffolding all around her.
Such a beautiful shot.
I couldn't imagine having to go through a healing process like that. Like that in and of itself, honestly. Like I kind of talked about there not being foreshadowing, but honestly, that in and of itself is like sort of a slow ramp into body horror.
Oh yeah.
Like
I think it's a pretty fast ramp with that surgery shot because that shit is really fucking gross.
Yeah, it looks really cool when it's sewed up. It's like a little spiral behind her ear.
I love that
with
scar.
staples
it's
in it.
So cool.
Yeah. And they're, she's there, and they're like testing to make sure she's got motor skills and her hands are working. And she's like glaring at her dad, and he's staring at her.
Oh, she's got that "you're dead to me" look.
Yeah, they're just looking at each other like, I fucking hate you. And her mom is there, but like her mom isn't really. Her mom is like a non-entity in this film. She's like, she doesn't even get any screen time with her face.
Yes, like, for real.
She's like, is it gonna be okay with the plate? And they're like, yeah, as long as she doesn't bump the titanium plate, it'll be fine. And they're like, okay,
walk it off.
Yeah. And then they take her out to the car to go home, and she like stomps up to the car, and she like caresses it.
She like hugs the
and
window.
Hugs it, and she puts her cheek on the window, and then she kisses the car.
It's so strange.
And then they cut to the title. They're like, "Welcome to Titane."
Oh my god, it's such a great music cue too. I love that fucking song so much by The Kills. I love it so much.
We cut to her, and she's an adult. She's in her 20s, and she's
we're back to Alexia.
She's got a full head of hair, but she's still got the scar. So it's a quick way of establishing, yes, this is her, because you're like, oh, there's a scar. And she's walking into this place where she works, which is this car show room with dancers. I don't know if people are there to see the dancers for sure, but like I don't know if they're also like selling the cars.
I don't
Maybe.
even.
Question
I don't
mark,
even
yeah.
know. Car shows it's such a strange like
It's
subculture to
unclear.
me.
Yeah.
That you
Yeah.
just go there to look at a bunch of things and then you go home and jack off later.
Yeah,
Strip clubs, car shows. I don't understand any of this shit.
cars and titties.
This was the best of both worlds.
Yeah. So it's this long one take where you get to see all of this space and get a feel for it while you're following her around the room. And you see this woman, Justine, who seems to notice her and maybe want to talk to her. And then she continues on to her car, which is a special car, which is like this big, I don't know cars, but like it's like this big Cadillac kind of car.
Yeah, it's
I
like
think
a
it's
muscle car.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it
I
has
don't-
flames on it.
Yeah,
And that's
very hot.
her car, and she does a sexy dance on it.
I put this is the first time she fucks the car.
I put down something similar. I put walking into the car show. She totally channels Uma Thurman in Kill Bill.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So much, which was pretty cool. And then that the role of music in this movie is important, or how important the role of music is in this movie, is made obvious very quickly from from the accident scene and this scene, which are like the first two scenes. And then I put in quotes, "You think this is for you? I'm getting the car off."
This is for him. Yeah. She does this dance, and it's a pretty quick dance. And she's kind of performing it to the camera a bit. So
It
you
really
like
is.
you become the audience for a
she
moment.
looks at the camera
Yeah.
like blatantly. Yeah,
And then she's done with her act, and
it's a very. I mean, I know you were saying before that it wasn't like you could see that she's kind of, this isn't her first day job. Like obviously she's not a dancer, but like
right, the actress hasn't, like, she doesn't have the slick skills of like a professional dancer, but like she does a good job.
I mean, I thought it was pretty hot. It's
pretty hot.
She might not be twerking her ass off, but she's working her ass off.
She makes it bounce. Yeah. So after she's done, she has
And
some
Evelyn
fans
said it,
there.
not either of us.
I said it.
So,
I said it.
so
She
don't
said what she said.
so don't come for us.
We're already fucking batting those comments off right now.
So she's like clearly like this is a profession that she's chosen for herself, but she's not really interested in meeting her fans or giving autographs. There's this great moment where someone takes a selfie with her and she's smiling, and then the moment the
like,
photo's
turn away.
taken, her smile just drops off her face.
Dude. It's so good.
She's very like, I would say she's kind of manly in a way.
Oh yeah.
She's like a kind of a tall woman, and she's sort of like aggressive and blunt, and just like she has a masculine quality to
Well,
her.
the movie, I was even putting this in my notes later on, but like the movie has gender fluidity
It
themes
does
like
throughout.
all
Yeah.
the way through.
100%.
It's a major
It is-
theme.
It is so
And
interesting
she's
the way it's
so
presented.
she's like the perfect person to embody all of this shit. She does such an
Absolutely.
amazing job. So she
I have
goes
so
to the
much
shower. She's in the shower room with all the other girls, and she's next to Justine,
Yeah.
who introduces herself. And this is Justine is played by Garance Marinier. I'm never
I
gonna get that
have no
name right.
idea, yeah.
Who is the director's muse? I would say
Yeah.
Yes.
she's in all
Yes.
of her films.
She's the lead in Raw.
Yeah. And she's interested in Alexia. And she's like, hey, she's trying to make small talk. And
A weird place to make friends.
yeah, you know. And they end up tangled together. Alexia gets her hair caught in Justine's nipple ring, and they are stuck.
She like drops soap.
Yeah.
Which again, in like this very subtle little, breadcrumb way, it's like you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Like you don't know what's
Yeah.
gonna happen later. But like that's one of the most uncomfortable things. The idea
Yeah.
of pulling out somebody's piercing on accident or getting
On your
stuck.
titty?
Yeah,
Bro.
I mean anywhere, but especially
Especially sensitive areas like that, though. That's fucked
Yeah.
up.
But
Oh,
it's just,
sorry, go ahead.
oh no, so I was gonna say it's just funny the slow on ramping because usually with like again, to think of like a Cronenberg, to think of like Videodrome, like there's nothing really subtle about where that movie's going from the beginning. They're just like, yeah, get strapped in, fucko. And this is like, just, you keep getting uncomfortable about these things, you know? They're just visually, viscerally uncomfortable.
Yeah. You just keep thinking about like, oh, how would that be? Like, to experience that,
exactly.
that seems uncomfortable. Yeah.
That is quite a skill to make the viewer immediately physically empathize. To like emotionally empathize with your characters is of course like totally equal skills. But just in terms of like literally to just make someone physically feel what they're feeling, I'm just like, oh God, you know,
grabbing your own tits. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, and I'm metal free, you know.
Metal free.
So in getting tangled, these two, this is like Alexia is forced to make small talk with someone that she normally wouldn't. She's no interest in talking to anyone.
Yeah.
But they make small talk for a little while, and Justine is like really trying to make friends here, and like the moment
she's so polite.
The moment Justine like gets distracted, Alexia's like, I'm done here, and she just rips her hair out of the nipple ring, and she's gone, and Justine's like, ah.
She's like, oh, I thought you said it doesn't hurt. She's like, it always hurts when you yank it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I'll be honest, I get her because I'm also not the type to be friends with my coworkers. I'm actually like lightweight infamous at my job because one time this guy was quitting and he came up to me and he's like, all right, man, you know, like it's been great working with you. And I'm just like, well, we each get on a truck at the beginning of the day and never see each other. Like, so I don't really know what you're talking about. And he's like, all right, man, well, I'll see you later. And he gives me a handshake. And as I'm reaching to shake his hand, I go, see you. And then I catch myself and I go, well, I guess never really, like in all honesty. And he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, not to be a dick, but I never saw you before this. But
he's like, I've always loved you.
Exactly. He's harboring feelings.
Essentially, that's kind of how it felt. But yeah, she tries to see you never, Justine.
See you never, Justine.
So this is where the movie starts to get a little bit darker. Alexia is leaving work and she's walking out to the parking lot by herself, and there is a man waiting for her. And he starts to...
That music score, though, dude.
Again.
That cue.
Yeah.
Oh.
Beautiful.
The sense of doom. Yeah.
It's like bass and drums, just like a tone, like a low
it's like
tone.
How it would feel in your
it's
chest.
Like, exactly.
Be like, oh, fuck.
Oh, it's such a that feeling of dread is just inherently just like injected right into you right when that music starts. It's so fucking beautifully done.
And she knows right away. Like, he's like, I believe, you know, I'm not a scholar on this film. I haven't seen it 4 times, but I believe that he's like.
Shame.
He's like pretending to look at his phone as she like passes, and then he immediately pockets the phone and starts following her.
He starts running.
Fast walk, going like she starts running and he starts running, and he just like full on runs, like chases her to the car.
Yeah, he's so fucking creepy.
Yeah, it's extremely aggressive, and she manages to get in her car before he gets to her, and like she decides to roll down the window. She's like, okay, what? And he's like, oh, I'm a big fan. I just want your autograph. Like, don't you? He's one of those fans. He's like, I saw you at the boat house. Did you remember me? And she's like, no, I don't. And she's just like, you know, just trying to deal with him, like give him an autograph. And he's like, maybe we could be friends and just see where it goes.
Read
like
the room, you creep.
And then he's just like, he's like, I think I'm in love with you. And she's like, okay.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah, and he asks for a kiss, and they're French, so she like kisses both of his cheeks, and then he just decides he's gonna kiss her.
He goes full on, bro. Yeah.
And he reaches into the car and he grabs her face, and he starts making out with her, and she's just like staring at him from like the 1 inch between her eye and his face.
Such a good fucking
She's just
shot,
watching him kissing her face in alarm, and then she like makes a decision, and you're like not sure what this decision is, but she's like, okay, and she starts kissing him back.
She leans in,
and you're like, okay, and then she reaches into her hair, and she pulls out this metal spike, and she just stabs it into his ear,
and the fucking sound cuts out as it enters his ear. It is fucking fantastic.
There are several deaths in this movie where I'm just like, okay, was the audience like, no, flop like a fish? like straight up there, like death, throws acting.
Yeah.
Was so fantastic.
It's fucking amazing.
Where I'm like, okay, you couldn't have just got these people to read the lines. Like, this was an all-encompassing, like, they had to do everything to get this role.
Yeah.
Because everyone is killing it all around. We've collectively been picking a lot of films with some really great acting, where, like, the entire cast is just absolutely fantastic. Yeah
Absolutely. They're all methodical about how they like approach everything, and it's all calculated.
There's so much like super subtle face acting in this movie. Like there's like the several examples that I can think of are different men throughout the film who like clench their jaw, and you can just see like a couple muscles kind of working, and it feels like it's like a tick. And I'm just like, how can you have that much, like those facial chops? Muscles. That's like Rowan Atkinson level facial chops. All right, and how does Rowan Atkinson do it? Like,
I love Rowan Atkinson.
See, I knew I liked you guys.
He is. Have you watched Blackadder?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so good. I love that show.
Oh yeah, that and Mr. Bean. I mean,
Mr. Bean, of course. Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Anyway.
But I mean, my note is she goes full siren on his ass. I love because she like lulls him in.
Yeah, she's like, if you're gonna bother me, let's just do this. Like, we'll get this out of the way.
And she's also very comfortable with this. Mm-hmm. Very comfortable with this. It's shown right after that she goes and showers.
Yeah,
she immediately
she pushes him out of the window, and she has some trouble getting her spike out of his ear. She like puts his foot on his face to get the spike out, and then she like drags him into the backseat of the car, and then she's like, ew, there's like drool all over me, and she has to go back to shower to get cleaned up.
God. Oh yeah, because all the foaming from the mouth was also a very, very nice touch.
Yeah, dude, like, I'm telling you, with like the fact that when the audio cut out, I was just like, I was clapping in the theater. I was like, fuck yes. And this wasn't even my favorite fucking kill. It was just the first one. I was like, oh, strap the fuck in, ladies and gentlemen. Let's fucking do this.
And it's like 8.5 minutes into the movie. Like,
yep. It's like, so quick. Yeah, absolutely. There's, again, nothing to prepare you emotionally for what the fuck you're about to witness.
There is just like no seconds spared in this film.
For sure.
Nope, it's so tight.
Yep.
So we get into this.
This is where the movie gets strange.
I love that it's 10 minutes in. Like, it is like 10 minutes into this movie.
They're like, you'll figure it out later.
It's so
But right
good.
now, come with me on a magical journey. So she's showering alone in this building now because everyone else has gone home and it's dark. And she's just like turned off the water, and there's this boom in the building somewhere. Just like,
yeah, it's so
something big is like hitting a metal door or something.
It like
she's
hits
like,
you in the soul. I wish I could have felt that in the theater.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, that was so good in the theater.
And like, if you know going into it that one, thing that anyone's told you about the movie, you're like, okay, so this has to be it.
You're rubbing your hands.
Yeah. Here we fucking go. And she
Warming
goes over
up your stick shift.
Yeah. So she's like dripping wet. She's naked, and she's like, I'm gonna go investigate. Like, she's
in
not
more than one way.
She's not concerned about like maybe this is somehow the Night Watchman or something. She's just like, I'm gonna go in here and she goes into the car showroom.
No, yeah, she has a little moment of hesitation, but then
She's
just
a little
like
worried.
and then she's like, all right, well, let's do it. And then she just like opens the door. It's like, okay.
If I die, I die.
It's like, okay.
So waiting in the showroom is her car with the headlights turned on, and even as it's not moving, it feels like it is sentient. And it's like,
because it's like doing the lowrider thing.
Yeah, it's like
It's
it's
waiting
like
for
bouncing
her.
on the hydraulics, and the engine is on, and the lights are on. And
and she goes to it and she caresses it like she did when she was younger,
Yeah.
and then she gets inside the car.
And then, if this car's
And
a
then the
rocket, don't
hydraulics
come a
start
knocking.
going, and it like the music is very doomy
Yeah.
at the time. It's like not.
It's very brooding.
It is a funny thing to see because like the car is just fucking bouncing, and it's bouncing so hard that it's starting to turn to the side, and you're like, this is funny, but the music is not funny.
Yeah.
you know what I didn't think about until just now is like, obviously, like the car is covered in flames, but the music makes me make the connection now of like Rosemary's Baby, where the like scene of them giving her to the devil is like so scary and so similar, where it's a sex scene where you only see her, where you don't really see the devil, you see like
Glimpses of
his
him,
hands and
Yeah.
like little things, but you can just tell this horrible thing is like happening to this woman, where for this woman it's more of like a Faustian bargain, where like she's willingly doing it and she's like getting her part out of it as well. But it just I was so taken by what I was seeing that I wasn't thinking about the music, but the combination, kinda.
Yeah, it's a fucking event
It's like
for
it's
sure.
meant to feel dark. Yeah, and they cut to she's in the back seat and she's got the.
I think she's in the
Seat
front
belts.
seat. I think you're right about it being a Cadillac because it has that that bench seat.
Oh
in
yeah,
the
there's a
front.
bench seat in the front. Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought she was
yeah.
in the back, just
No,
like the
I'm
way.
pretty sure she's in the front.
There's a shot for the roof window, like her placement in that window. It looked like she was in the back, but
I think it's a lower like tilt like on the camera where it is, but yeah, doesn't matter.
I don't know that
it
it-
doesn't matter if she's
I was
fucking the
just-
car.
yeah, I was like, if she's in the back seat, how could it be anything like there's no sense.
With both
in,
of us in the back seat, who the fuck's
Well,
driving?
I mean, mechanically speaking, the only way that this can work is if she's straddling the gear shift. So
well, that's the thing, though.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, do you want to
can
go
get into it.
That's what I'm saying. Go get into it because this makes it just makes sense.
I was
this week's
trying
episode
to, like,
comes with a diagram.
in trying to dissect it and like being like, what is actually happening in this car?
Yeah.
And to the point that like the next morning when she wakes up, she's like, my tummy hurts.
And my
all
bummy
bruised.
hurts.
Bruise and my
I'm all
bummy.
bruised, and there's like black oil coming out from between her legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the introduction of this gigantic fucking metaphor. This entire movie is a metaphor.
It
In my opinion.
It is many metaphors, but I will say that I did see Julia say, if something happens on screen in my movie, it actually happened.
Fair enough.
Oh, I like that.
Well, this is gonna have to be my version because it works.
I don't think that what you're going to say would be necessarily wrong in any way, because obviously it is dripping in metaphor and like
Yes.
5 layers deep.
It just is.
Yeah.
But-
yeah, it
but-
just
And this is, I've had this argument with people about the movie Saint Maud a lot. They're like, it only means this because the director said so. And I'm like, well, that's something that was said outside the movie.
First
the
of all-
movie that she
First
created.
of all, take the bass out your voice when you talk to me.
Yeah. Back the fuck up. But like,
Evelyn will stab you.
I will. I get really peeved about particularly Saint.
I'll stab you. You're really peeving me off.
I'm so ticked off right now. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, Buster.
Just just people
So good.
who insist that it is only one way, and like
Yeah.
the beauty of the movie is that it works on many levels.
So many.
So therefore, why would you try to undo that?
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
box this one up for
Yeah.
sure. This one's such a spectacle to behold, and it's just one of those most unique things that everybody can watch it. A room full of people can watch it, and like a room full of 50 people can watch it, and all 50 of those people will have a different take on what the fuck they just
Yeah.
saw.
There's
Yeah.
just so much happening for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I just mean in terms of like she definitely did fuck a car, and everything that happens like definitely does, but it doesn't detract from at the end of the day it essentially being a fable that we're watching as far as how it relates to
Yeah.
our world. So like totally what Evelyn's saying in terms of like if you're, you know, we do have to deconstruct the metaphor because that's obviously what's going on, but like
I can't not. There's too much there.
yeah, but
I mean,
but
do
in
you
the
want to
same
kind of present your idea on it now, though?
Yeah,
So
I mean,
that-
if I'm gonna move forward, like all of my notes.
Yeah,
are
they kind of the
woven-
conversation literally is fueled by this
It's
theory.
all
so
woven with this metaphor.
it's
I can't,
very
I
fascinating.
can't see this movie another way.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
it's very interesting. Very interesting.
so in this interpretation of the movie, what just happened? She did not fuck a car. She was raped by that guy. Mm-hmm. And every interaction with a car in this film is a sexual encounter of some kind. And the car crash at the beginning, which is the start of this mess, is her father assaulting her, abusing her, which made her the way she is. Which is she's got this scar, she has this connection to metal things. That's her trauma, which has been built into her by her father.
Yeah.
And all of these metal things play into the trauma of being sexually assaulted.
Yeah, because there's even in my notes I put there's a lot of head trauma in general, so like that
Yeah.
lends itself to the fact that this is all one big metaphor.
Yeah.
Like the way that she murders the dude is with, you know, the thing to the
With
head.
metal. Yeah.
And I was gonna say too, as well as like, I don't think, like my take on it is like everything objectively happened. This is a timeline of these things. Like I think that Evelyn's read of it is one of the many metaphors that are here at work. But I will say that my take on her views of sexuality, I think it comes from like a different place. But again, it's not like my place or my inclination to try to say like that I'm right or that you're wrong or whatever.
Oh no, it's all part of the conversation.
But just to throw it out there, I guess kind of like I was trying to say, at the end of the day, like it's like a fairy tale that we can all pull apart and we can all find like a kind of moral or a message or something. Because where you saw that in terms of the cars and the other sexual encounters and her father, what I thought was that she, and it's very similar to a character from a William Gibson book, this dude Case, where every time he's talking about stuff that's really happening, he's just like, and then the thing happened, and then there's the stuff. But then anytime he's talking about like hacking, he's like, oh, it's amazing, and there's all this geometry on the internet, and everything's fucking great. And like even when he has sex with a woman, he's just like, yeah, then I came, and then that was whatever. And I feel like it's like a very similar kind of thing for her, where it's like I felt that her father's abuse to her was neglect and hatred
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than physical or sexual. Because even after the accident, he still doesn't seem to really give a shit about her or pay
Yeah.
attention to her. And so it
Yeah.
seemed like she's not really interested in being connected with people, because every sexual act that happens, like it doesn't seem like it's about
brutal.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like it's about men or women, and she's so clumsy and disconnected from people. But then when it comes to cars, like she just gets it. You know,
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one thing that didn't quite fit in there. Is like, if he had sexually abused her at any point, he would have like an unhealthy attachment. But he's just repulsed by her. Like he would
Maybe.
rather she just not exist.
Yeah, maybe or maybe so because she grew up.
True. It's difficult to say, but like anytime they're on screen together at any point in this
Yeah,
movie, they just look at each other. They share this look every time.
Yeah, it's just a void of love. Yeah.
I don't have time for you.
Yeah. There's no warmth whatsoever there. It's literally just dead stares like you're dead to me.
Yeah. And that's the sense you get. Like that is the next scene is that she's at home after having this weird car encounter and she's like bloated and bruised.
And you know that car didn't use protection.
Yeah. It's a dirty car. And she's got like oil coming out of her, which is like, oh shit.
I hope the car at least gave her an Armor All wipe to clean up with.
So she's at home with her dad, and she's like eating, I don't know, pistachios and watching the news. And
she's snacking.
The news is like, oh, there were fires set today, and like there's another killing. We think there might be a serial killer, and you're like, oh. Creepy.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe that's her.
Yeah. Which I was like,
because she killed someone, and you're like, this is probably not the first time this has happened.
Because she looked so comfortable, and the fact that she was able to just go and shower right after the fact, it proves
toss him in the backseat of her car, and be like, I'll clean this up later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. So it feels like, it sounds like they're talking about her previous victims.
Yeah,
on the
and
news.
They're talking about like missing children and shit like that.
Yeah,
just
which
news
is
in general.
so good because again, talk about subtle foreshadowing
and
because that is so fast.
When they bring up the kid that's been missing, do they mention that there was a fire and he went missing? That was something.
I think so.
Probably. They're probably related. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good question. This is just like setting the scene of. We haven't seen Dad since she was little, and now we're seeing him again. They're like in the kitchen together, getting their respective foods, and it's like they're not even in the same room together. They don't say a goddamn thing. They don't look at each other.
Yeah.
And they just,
You know what? I will say to Evelyn's point, she does silently take her lead from him in a very strange way in that scene. She's like sitting down, and then he walks in. And when he grabs his food, she jumps up and runs over and like grabs all of her stuff and like piles it all up and then runs back to her place with it.
She's like subtly trying to just win his favor in some way.
Yeah, it's like we're doing something together, even if we're not.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange.
And he's like staring into the distance, like he's just To him, she's not there.
I wish I never had a daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
And mom comes home, and again, we don't really see her. I think this is so interesting that her mom is like not part of this.
Yeah, she's not.
She comes in and she kisses Alexia on the head. And she's like, "What's up with you?" And Alexia's like, "My stomach hurts." And she's like, "Oh, have your dad examine you." And he like closes his eyes, like, "Oh like, my fucking god damn it." And then, he's like a doctor, apparently.
How it feels when you have any job and your family decides they need stuff. When they're like,
so true.
Evelyn does computers. She could do this for you. And you're just like, I don't. What is this? Like...
This is my day off.
This is fuck you, pay me for territory right here.
Yeah. So she's laying down and he's... feeling her stomach in that, like the move that the doctors do, they'll like press their fingers here and there to see what's going on. And he's like at it for like 15 seconds and he's like, yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
And
so like looks
she
at her
like grabs his hand and puts it back on her stomach. She's like right there. And he's like, I don't care.
Okay, cool story, bro.
And he's like, yeah, hopefully it's malignant, essentially.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, like, that's her life with her dad.
Yeah.
And from there, we cut to it's at night and she's on a beach somewhere and she's hanging out with Justine. She's apparently hit up Justine and they're, like, making out. So, like, in attempting to have a physical connection with her dad and failing, she's like, I guess I'll call that girl then. She'll touch me.
That's a neat... Yeah, I didn't put that together, but yeah, that makes sense.
So they're, like... making out by lighthouse light or some shit in this, like they're in like a marina or something.
Yeah.
That's a cool little setting.
Yeah, and it's getting kind of hot and heavy, and Alexia...
A lot of heavy petting.
She goes for that nipple ring, and she's like, oh, yeah, I need that nipple ring. And it's like...
She goes straight for the titty like a psycho.
Yeah,
though,
and
dude.
like Justine is kind of rolling her eyes, and she's like, okay. And she's like trying to be nice about it. She's like, is this your first time with a girl? And Alexia doesn't say... Like, Alexia has said one word at this point. She barely ever speaks.
Yeah, she doesn't speak much at all.
She's like a wild animal.
I will say too, because she's just on her tit for like quite a while, and she's just like, okay, you could go lower. Like there's more parts of me. Like please do. And I will say, so I feel like this obviously demonstrates that it's not a man or woman thing. It's just that she doesn't seem to understand human sexuality. That part of her is broken, which again, to your point.
Exactly.
But I will say it kind of weirdly reminds me of I had an ex who was like bi-curious, and she said at one point, she was just like, I don't know, I'm just like really into girls' boobs and all this stuff. Like I don't really get why. And I was just like,
I mean, I understand.
We all like boobs.
well, I don't know. She was just saying like it's what to her it's her defining feature when she like looks at another woman. And I was just like, well, I think it's because you're like just figuring out that you like girls. And like for boys, that's like when we're like 6 to 12 years old, we're just like, oh, fucking boobs, And then eventually,
you guys forget about boobs for like 2.5 years, and then you're like, oh yeah, boobs.
yeah, kind of.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
Kind of. But just yeah, this like budding sexuality of like it's the first thing, like the most apparent thing to notice before you like figure out everything that you're doing. So like it very much supports that like budding sexuality, sort of like mentally going through puberty, like she's in her 20s and she twerks on cars for a living, but she like has no idea what to do when she's alone with a partner.
Yeah. She's got no experience.
Yeah.
In terms of the metaphor that I'm never going to give up on, she's like, because she's like very focused on the actual piece of jewelry, the nipple ring.
Yeah.
She's like verging on pulling it straight out of the nipple.
Too much teeth, bro.
It is made of metal, and it's like, in terms of the metaphor, it's like she's trying to extract the part that has to do with her trauma, and it isn't there to be extracted, so it doesn't fucking work. Like she's trying to relive this thing, and Justine's like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, sorry.
Oh, that's beautifully put.
She's like, get the fuck off me.
That's beautifully put, yeah.
See, and I like how it's like that, where it's like there can be multiple reasons. Because to me, like, I hadn't thought about that, and I love that. But to me, it's more like the metal is what she's attracted to, like also for traumatic reasons, but it like
she just zeroes in on it.
In a different way.
Yeah, I guess it's just the battle of like, to me in her head she thinks it's a positive thing. Yeah. And I feel like
she's very bewildered when Justine's like, get off me. She's like, what?
Yeah.
And she's just like humiliated in a way, and she
just storms off.
She's like, you didn't want me to stretch your nipple like a fucking piece of gum? Like, oh, that shit hurt.
Yeah, it's so fucking unsettling to watch.
Yeah, and Justine is so nice. She like almost gets her nipple ripped off, and immediately afterwards she's like, what the fuck? And then she's like, whatever, never mind. Are you coming inside? And Alexia's like, hang on, I have to go throw up. She runs over and she pukes, and then she's like, her belly is way more bloated now.
You got a baby bump.
She's in pain, and she's like, there's oil coming out of her pants, and she goes into Justine's place and she takes a pregnancy test, and she is pregnant.
Are we assuming that this is like a human gestation, like 9-month period? Like, was she hanging out with Justine for like 4 or 5 weeks before this happened?
No.
This is like 24 hours.
Yeah, I believe.
Most.
Yeah,
that's what you think. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe this is all happening very rapidly.
This all happens, and to me, this all happens like at least leading up to the turn that the movie takes, it all happens very quickly.
Yeah, it feels like it's accelerated, like it's rapid because I mean it's kind of the pacing of the movie where it just doesn't let up and it doesn't slow down.
Yeah, it snowballs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Okay.
I'm not seeing that, like I've in every time that I've watched this, I've never considered it being
Like over
a
a period of
pregnancy
time.
that happens at a normal pace. It's like by the end of the week she's fully pregnant.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, what the fuck? That's how it felt to me.
Yeah, it feels very...
There's just no real sense of time. Which to me also kind of adds to that like heightened reality, like quasi fairy tale. All perspectives are right because like what the fuck is any of this? You know?
Yeah, because reality, the lines between reality are being blurred very, very much.
Yes.
Like, I love anybody who's got the balls to make something and just for the sake of being like no meaning whatsoever. That's why I like Gaspar Noé so much. Like, like that's what I love about Climax so much. And I'm gonna get off on a little side tangent, but it really is a movie about fucking nothing almost. Like, and everybody hates that movie, and I fucking adore that movie.
Man.
I appreciate, I think, like I've said before, it's not about who's using the technique, it's about how the technique is used.
Is done,
and stuff. And I do like films that challenge these notions, and this is a movie that challenges so many notions, and it definitely mainly challenges the whole, like, do you have to like and root for the protagonist?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like, this definitely plays around with like, is this the hero or the villain of the story?
I mean, like, to have a main character that you are rooting for her, but like kind of like every time she meets a new person, you're like, oh god. Yeah. I'm worried for this new person.
But we're about to get to why
Case in point.
Why that fear is valid.
I should note, like, right after trying to pull Justine's nipple off and then realizing that, like, things aren't going well.
You're not into this.
Things aren't well with my belly. Like, she runs to Justine and hugs her, which is a very not Alexia thing to do. She's like scared and she's like, she wants a hug, and Justine's like, oh, you poor thing.
Yeah.
And,
God, I love Justine so much. Like, she's such a pure part of this movie.
She's like, yeah, my titty's bleeding, but let me give you a hug.
Exactly.
You weird fucker. Like, I probably would have, in her shoes, I would have been like, you can go home now. You don't have to come back inside. Just go.
Yeah.
But
Please?
she takes she takes a pregnancy test and she is pregnant, and you're like, car baby.
Man. Yeah.
Okay.
Amanda said she's gonna give birth to a transformer.
Exactly.
But then we have the
and she
pretty fucking unsettling abortion scene.
Oh Lordy.
She's like, well, that's not happening.
I should say attempted abortion.
Yeah. So she pulls out her handy dandy spike that she keeps in her hair at all times.
Talk about a Swiss Army stick, bro. That shit,
I hope she cleans that.
I think genuinely, if you don't think that abortion should be legal, you should be forced to watch this and the climax of Inside.
Yep.
You should be.
And we're gonna do Inside eventually. Again, this is the French film podcast now.
I was just.
We should probably do Teeth as well.
I was just thinking the Uncomfortable Pregnancy trilogy would be this, Inside, and I thought of a third one, but I'm blanking on it now.
Teeth is a great addition, a prequel to those.
And then there's that movie where the woman is pregnant with like a 13-year-old kid that won't come out.
Oh, what the fuck?
And the kid is inside talking to his mom. Like,
that sounds awesome.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't know what it's called.
I'm gonna get really high and watch that.
Oh, so high.
Absolutely.
It gets weirder than that.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Pray tell.
Yes.
Well, that would spoil the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay.
But anyway, getting back to the uncomfortableness that is this scene.
Yeah.
So she uses the spike. She really jams it up in there, and she's like clearly hurting herself. But she's like, I gotta get this done. And one would assume that would do it. or that she would be gravely injured, but she
Yeah.
just carries on with her night. She's like back on the couch, like making out with Justine again.
Yeah, just we're back to it.
And Justine,
Round
like
two.
I think she's told Justine what's
Something?
going on, because Justine's like, it's crazy that you didn't know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
she
yeah.
like told her that she's pregnant, and Justine is like just being a friend and
Well, she
being like, you poor
she's
thing.
just trying to like comfort her at that point, and like
Yeah.
she's just laying on her
she's
lap.
like leaning against her, and then
Oh, God, the music swell again.
Alexia just, her brain just flips, and she's
Snaps.
like, you know what? I'm done here. And she
Yeah.
pulls out the spike and stabs Justine in the face.
But it's beautiful how it's done, because like she's just sitting there and caressing her hair, and then as she moves,
She uncovers her
she
ear.
uncovers her ear, and then the music swells just a little bit, and it's like, oh no,
Oh no. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I guess she misses, and
She- yeah.
she stabs her in the cheek, and Justine
Oh,
sits
it
up.
goes like right through the
She's
cheek.
got
It's
this
so cool.
spike sticking out of her face, and she's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
And Alexia's like,
the music
"Oops."
kicks in at that point, and,
And
it's
she-
so much fun.
She pulls the spike out of her face, and then they have this amazing. It's like watching a nature show. She's holding Justine with her arm. She's got her in like an arm bar, and she's like holding her still, and Justine is like flailing
Yeah.
around, and she's like trying to line up the spike with her ear,
Mm-hmm.
like a apex predator, and then she lands it. She gets it right in her ear,
yep,
and
yep.
Justine dies much like the first dude did.
It's
And as she is, like, in her death twitches, there's a dude coming down the
Oh my
stairs in
God.
his boxers, and he can't really see that Justine is dead. But Alexia gets up, and she, like, grabs a fire poker, and she's like, hello. And
Hi,
the guy's like,
Cliff.
what are you doing? And she just stabs him in the foot, and she just goes straight into attacking him. And she gets
this is
him.
absolutely my favorite fucking kill. Absolutely
And there's
my
this
favorite
super
fucking kill.
fun song playing.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. That music is so much fun,
It's
dude.
it's like a comedy scene in a way.
This whole section feels like a Tarantino movie.
Yeah, it does. It
This
really does.
feels like a Tarantino flip.
yeah,
you know?
and it's probably not a one take, but there are some long shots in there.
It's very long takes.
It's just
yeah.
unfolding.
I don't know. It might be a one take
might
though.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got to go back and watch it, but it feels like there's so much action going on.
It-
You're not like even
Yeah.
paying attention.
It feels like it. They could definitely, like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was like some sneaky cuts, some like, because I feel like there's
Yeah.
maybe a couple like sort of pillars in the house that they could have
yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
wrapped
Shot
around or
around, yeah.
something. Yeah, but it feels like one. Like it's such a like
Yeah.
well done sequence that you feel like you are in the house watching all of these things.
yeah.
So she stabs him in the foot, and then
She gets him on the ground, and she's like kicking him and beating him with this poker, and then
They like wrestle a
she-
little.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then she grabs a kitchen stool and she's beating him in the face with it, and then he's like overpowered, and the foot of the stool just goes into his mouth, and
straight into his
she just sets that
mouth.
stool down through his head.
When you hear the pop,
Yeah.
you hear it like crunch. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
What
and she's like tired, so she just sits down on the stool.
it's so beautiful.
what's really messed up about it too is that I didn't realize she was gonna like pop his head at first, but she's like suffocating him with the stool for a moment. He's like choking on the stool. So I think when she pushed down, like it like split his, his jaws.
his fucking mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't actually see it go through. You don't actually see the action, but you see enough where you could fill in the blanks.
This
you know,
scene
in
is
your mind.
also very reminiscent of a scene in Possessor.
Oh
If
yeah.
you know, you know.
Oh god.
Yeah.
We'll do Possessor one day.
Yeah, dude.
We'll get to Possessor.
We'll get there.
But baby Cronenberg, baby.
Yeah, but like this is still high energy. Like this song is still playing. Like in the middle of killing this dude, another woman in her underwear was coming down the stairs and started screaming and went back upstairs. And so she's like, she takes a little rest on the stool. And then she's like, okay, time to go get this bitch. So she takes the fucking fire poker and she goes up to this room that the woman's locked herself in, and she's like knocking on the door, and she's like clearly having a good time. She's like, come out, come out. And then there's a naked dude behind her, and he's like, hello? And she's like,
oh, he's such a sweetheart too.
he's so sweet. And she's like, how many of you are there? And he's like, what? And he's like, oh, it's just
she's so
me,
tired.
Jeremy, Alan, and Stephanie. It's just, are there more people coming? And he's like covering his dick while he talks to her. And she's like, okay. And she's
She like goes and hugs him.
she hugs him and
leans on him.
She leans on him because she's so exhausted.
The
and
way the camera spins around, dude.
yeah.
Oh,
and he's just
so
like,
good.
he's like, well, you can take a nap in my bed if you want. It's fine. And she asks him his name, and he tells her his name, and then she stabs him in the back.
You see her hand holding the same fucking metal thing, like as the camera flips around slowly.
Yeah.
So like he's like, you can go ahead and like take a nap in my bed if you want, and then it's just like whack, and you're like, no.
And he's so nice to her.
It's so sad.
And yeah.
See, I think I just misread, because I thought the subtitle said you could use my body if you want. Because I would.
Oh,
No.
I
he
thought there
said
was
it.
essentially like an orgy happening at that
There
at that
was,
chick's house. So I
Probably
I
was,
thought
yeah.
I figured he was like high too. So I thought I obviously misread, but I thought he was like, yeah, if you want, you could use my body, like just like a high,
No, he says bad.
out
Yeah,
of your
he-
mind on
Yeah.
on Molly like thing to say, you know.
He did ask if more people were coming. He's just like,
Yeah.
oh, I thought it was just going to be the four of us. But
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and maybe that's why the other guy is like slow to react to, because he's also potentially high.
Yeah,
It just
they're like,
comes
"Oh."
downstairs and is like, what's happening now?
A new woman. Cool.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like right as she's killing this dude, that's when the woman who was hiding in the bedroom decides to make a break
Books
for
it.
it. And she goes down the stairs, and Alexia like
Oh, that fucking
runs
shot,
after her.
though, dude.
And they're wrestling on the stairs.
That shot following them on the stairs
Yeah.
is so good.
It's really well shot.
It's so good.
And she's like trying to, like, she's had to drop the fire poker because she's trying
Yeah.
to get a hold of this naked woman. And
Titties flailing.
the woman is like kicking her, and she pushes her into a wall, and Alexia hits her head, and the woman gets away.
Yeah, the first.
And you hear that, like, the sound cuts right there, right? When she gets, like, knocked back into the
Yeah,
wall.
she gets hit pretty hard.
Yeah, the first of many blows to the head, which
Mm-hmm.
the doctor said is the only thing that can mess up her titanium implant.
Which
Yeah.
you also hear that a lot, which is a common thing among serial killers, is that head trauma at an early age
Mm-hmm.
is very much, it lends to this is psychosis later on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it messes up your brain, like growth and formation.
Yeah, so she's just fucked up this house full of people.
I said she goes berserker mode. I put it. It's like she's going berserker mode on accident.
Yeah.
It's like she didn't
it
want
doesn't
to.
she clearly is she does not have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
She's just like, I feel like killing one more person. Let's
Mm-hmm.
keep going.
Oops, made 5 bodies.
Yeah.
I like how they lure us in with the first kill that she has being this like quote justifiable thing where it's
Yeah.
like, I was afraid that he was going to rape her or that something worse was going to happen. I didn't know what I was like truly in for
Yeah.
with this movie. So it's like you kind of root for her when she kills that guy. But
Yeah.
then when she starts killing all of them, you're like,
feels weird.
You're like, oh no, she is.
Girl, pump the brakes.
Yeah,
Jesus.
like she is the bad guy. Like none of this has to happen.
Yep.
Yeah. And you're not even sure why she's doing it.
Yeah. And I will say though, like you did mention it, Evelyn, but I want to just make sure to give specific props to the line, "How many of you are there?" Because that's
Yeah.
that is some fantastic writing.
yeah.
It's amazing.
It's beautifully written.
It was. I think we were both like when she said that we were probably
We both looked at each other
just
while this was
laughing
going.
so hard in the
like,
theater.
While this happened, I'm telling you, when this scene happened, I was just fucking screaming. As soon as the stool went down, I was like, yes, yes. And yeah, like halfway through the movie, I looked at Evelyn. I was just like, what the fuck is going on, bro?
Yeah.
It's-
It's a roller coaster.
It's such a fucking incredibly done movie. And then I put it here, we have, this is right after, so there's like a pause in the action, right? Like it's just like, because she
Well,
goes back home, right? At this point.
She comes in her they don't really show the outside of her house, but like she comes in this gate that like maybe goes down to the water or something. Like she lives on the waterfront, and she's like exhausted from killing all these people, and she's got like this blanket over her shoulder, like she's just come out of the night and she's like doubled over, and her dad is in his window and like shirtless because he's been sleeping or something, and he's like smoking a cigarette, and she like sees him and he sees her, and they exchange that look that they exchange that is like, I fucking hate you, bro. And he's just looking at her like, what is this thing?
In the room, right?
No, he's in the house. Well, he's in his bedroom probably, and she's like looking up at the window.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot
he's
about
like
that.
looking at her very aloofly, like,
Yeah.
there you are,
Yeah.
you piece of shit.
Yeah, it's
And she's like, you made me.
yeah, it's kind of like you sort of get the vibe in his mind is like, oh, there's my tramp daughter, you know, like
Yeah.
Jesus,
something along those
Yeah.
lines. I assume he has a pretty negative opinion about what she does if he knows what she does.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I put like this was like a pause in the action, like a rest in music, like when there's a really good like in a, you know, like a rest in like when you're composing music and shit, like a well placed rest is so effective.
Yeah.
And this is just
Albeit
so
a brief one.
It's a very brief one, but again, it doesn't have to be very long. It's just a minute.
Yeah.
Like it's a rest, and it's just like there's so much fucking action and adrenaline happening in one shot, and then it just like cut all the audio. Let's cut everything else, and it's just like let's watch what happens for a second, and then we ramp the fuck back up.
It's
Yeah.
it's just like in music itself, doing that, you know, taking a breath for a quarter note before you continue. Things like like just the smallest like. I think it's in jazz where they say the most important notes are the ones you don't play.
Yep, exactly.
Like that's
Exactly.
It's very, very true. You know, like I kind of mentioned earlier, video games and movies are like the most all-encompassing multimedia collaborative art forms.
Yeah.
You know, in terms
Absolutely.
of like how many people and how many elements and how many things come together to make a great film. And like we've been given props over and over and over, but front runner for end of the year podcast awards, best soundtrack. and score.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
And that includes these little breaks of silence as well, because it's knowing when to use it and when to chill.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yep. So, we have right here, this is when she goes inside, right? And she's just like...
So she goes to the basement and she's burning whatever bloody thing
like,
that she has.
Time to start fresh.
Yeah. She's burning her bloody clothes, and she's watching the fire.
That's such a good fucking shot, too.
The way that the basement is... it seems like the basement is actually designed to, like, this is an area where you can burn things. It almost looks that way.
Yeah.
But she's, like, clearly let the fire get out of hand, and she's just watching it. And it's going onto the ceiling, and it's spreading through the whole basement. And she's just like, yep. And
the way I have to interject real quick, just because the way that the movie, the way it's framed, they play a lot with the rule of thirds in photography. I learned about this in college when I was doing photography classes. Like it's like if you split an image up into 9 segments, anywhere you kind of place a subject along those lines on the grid, that is how you would essentially compose a quote unquote perfect shot, a good shot. This movie kind of plays with that because it goes just below where they show like the character will be center frame, but like very much in the middle on the very bottom.
Yeah, down.
Like down in the middle on the on the frame. So there's a lot of
ceiling.
A lot of ceiling and a lot of like space above them. And it's so like beautifully crafted because again, that's how you know what a good shot looks like. And they're showing you intentionally look at like a beautiful imagery, but we're going to play with the composition just a little bit. It's not what you're used to.
Yeah. They have a couple of shots like that later in the film, pointing down. Which I'm not sure what that means in that scenario, but like there's a language, visual
It's just
language.
style. It's just stylish overall. Like, this movie's just fucking bleeding style.
Yeah.
I feel like flames as well are meant to be sort of a motif.
Because
Yeah.
flames are on the car.
And the way she's
And going into, yeah, go ahead.
no you
Just going into the second half of the film, the
Firemen.
fire theme in general. Yes.
yeah totally. But just the way the flames are like licking the top of the roof, and it's like it's
Just crawls
it's
over
like
it.
like you said, it's like in the middle of the frame. And again, this is like another play on it within the same shot. Granted, again, having only seen it once a couple days ago, but the flame is like vertical in the center of the frame. But
Yep.
then when it gets to the roof, it's like spreading horizontally to where it's like sort of creating like a T in the terms of those like quadrants, like you were saying. So
Exactly.
it's just got this like, it doesn't look like a natural or real spreading of fire. It has this like otherworldly feel to it. And if you think about sort of like she made a Faustian bargain with this car, like if you would think that it would be like, I don't want this hurt involving my father anymore, because one way or another something is not right there, and he clearly hates her and treats her wrong, and it's clearly like causes her pain and causes her to act out and causes her, the combination of that and the physical trauma causes her to not know how to interact with people and only have this fixation with machines.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it almost seems like she's like watching this like hellfire, and she's like, well, like this is my chance. Like it doesn't seem like it's purposeful. Like it seems
Yeah, it
like,
seemed like she was like, oops, that's a little bit of a big fire. And then she's like, well,
I can work with this.
yeah.
because she is like mystified. Like I think it was Evelyn that said like she's like being like hypnotized by the fire for a second, like Mowgli in the Jungle Book with the snake,
Yeah.
Like she's just looking at it, and then
so
she's
funny.
like, "Oh, I better go run upstairs and check on the folks."
Yeah, so she peeks into her parents' room, and she leans in, she takes the key out of the inside of the door, and her dad is like
Still
awake and sees her, and they exchange that look that they exchanged.
That knowing glance.
He's like, I fucking see you. And she's like, whoop. And she like,
It's gonna be the last time.
she slams the door as he's starting to get up, because he realizes, well, if she's doing that, then something is fucking afoot. And so she locks him in.
She murders that family.
I see,
Yeah.
I see you there. Well, die, old man.
And you too,
Okay,
Mom.
bye.
Yeah, and mom was in there, and I guess,
Sleeping, facing the other way.
Sleeping the other way. Yep.
yeah, just fuck her, I guess.
Yeah.
She just doesn't, I guess she's complicit.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those you saw it and you let it
Yeah.
happen type of things. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then she's on the road and she's hitchhiking. And
I
she's
put, now
heading
you're
out of
really
town.
dead to me, Dad.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that she's like, I don't know. She's like not afraid of people, because like she hitchhikes with this dude and she just falls asleep in his car.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's specifically like sexuality and intimacy. So I feel like ultimately it's either like what Evelyn's saying, or it's like just on a completely like interpersonal emotional level, not just being like, I don't get it. I could do a business interaction, I could get my money for the show, I could take a picture with the fan, I could tell this guy at the window, okay, yeah, leave me alone, haha, but like I can't fucking kiss somebody, because if I kiss somebody, I just want them to die. And if you come on to me, you have to die, whether you're a man or a woman. And it's just
Pretty harrowing.
Yeah. Yeah, she's an odd duck.
also feels like a statement here is like, yeah, women can dress, air quote, provocatively if they choose, if that's what like works for them, and it has absolutely fuck all to do with you. It's not it's not to entice you, it's not to make you upset, it's not to put salt in the wound, again for the incels out there. But
kindly go fuck.
Yeah, full stop. With consent. Don't be the parking lot guy, or may you end up in the back of someone's car.
Yeah, exactly. May you end up with a chopstick in your ear.
You end up a shish kebab.
But yeah, just that element of like, sure, I'm a go-go dancer and like a car model, showgirl, whatever, but like that doesn't mean that you could just come on to me, whether you're a guy in the crowd or another girl who works here.
Yeah. Yep.
So by this point, she's already well on the run.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he drops her off. She asks if he'll take her further, and he's like, I'm going the other way now. And he drops her off at like a bus station, or I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, I was kind of confused.
It's like
it
sort of
feels
like an
a Greyhound
airport
station.
Yeah, it's some kind of center, and for public transportation or something.
Yeah, I thought it was a train station, but it really could have been anything. But it had a terminal. She was inside at some point.
Yeah, terminal. Yeah,
and she's wandering around in there, and they're showing you like these posters for these missing kids, and they're like screens. So they're like, this is this kid who went missing when he was like 9, and here he is aged to, he would be 17 now, and this is what he would look like. And like there are other things, like she notices her, like a police sketch for this killer who's on the run, who's clearly her. It doesn't look exactly like her because it's a police sketch, but like it's pretty close. And she's like, oh shit. And they're like police officers in the building who are wandering around, so she like puts her hood up and she's like,
that hoodie up.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Came to the wrong place.
Yeah, presumably that lady got away, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's like really trying to lay low, and she's sort of sitting in a seat there, and she notices the missing kid poster, and she like really fixates on it, and then she makes a decision. She goes into this restroom, and she's like bought scissors, and she's like sawing her hair off. She's like cutting off all her hair.
I wrote the actor was probably glad to be free of that mullet.
Yeah, it was a pretty heinous
gnarly.
haircut.
She had like the scene girl mullet.
I
had a note for you, just like, this is our second female character who doesn't give a fuck what her hair looks like.
That's true. That's
like,
number
get
2.
This shit out of the way.
Put the counter up.
Yeah. So she's cutting her hair off like real short, just hacking it off, and she like,
such a beautifully done scene.
for some ungodly reason that I cannot fathom, decides that she'll look more like this kid if she shaves off her eyebrows.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you have that, and I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking about the next scene.
Same. You said ungodly. We both went to the same place. So this is where I stood up.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude.
Yeah, this is definitely.
And
it won the eyebrows.
She's transforming herself. She cuts off her hair. She shaves off her eyebrows. Who the fuck knows why?
Yeah.
Because she looks less like him than before. This is sort of this kid has dark hair. He's sort of like, he's a brown kid, really. Exactly. And she's this pale, skinny, hawk-nosed lady. She looks so not like him, and then she proceeds to make herself look less like him. She's very pregnant already, so she's wrapping her stomach to make herself flat.
God, and binding her breasts, because at this point you don't know that that's what she's doing, so all of this is like very mesmerizing and confusing.
Yeah, you haven't quite gotten there yet, because they're like, it's coming to you in phases.
And like, of course, like breast binding, like as many people do, like it sounds very painful to begin with, but to bind your pregnant stomach sounds like such unbearable pain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets increasingly worse
Yeah,
too.
speaking of unbearable pain.
Yeah, so
here we go. Here we go.
So I got on my feet as soon as she started. As soon as she started like measuring distances, I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, she decides what we've already seen is that she does not look fucking anything like this kid, and she's like, "How can I make this work?" Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Well, I got to change the shape of my nose." And so she's like, "All right, I can break my nose."
It's so.
And she's like lining up a punch, and she's like, "Okay, rear and back, like yeah." And you watch this great, like, well cut montage of her punching herself in the face several times and failing to achieve what she's going for.
I feel like she must have at least got in close. Like she definitely
to actually doing it. Yeah,
she fucked herself up with those punches.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
There's not really any way to fake that.
Well, because I put right here, I was like, humans have like an innate need to defend themselves from pain. Mm-hmm. So trying to break something intentionally is already difficult.
Yeah, it's like how it really doesn't take much force to bite through a finger, but your brain is like, it's your finger, dumbass.
Yeah,
like,
dog, like don't do this.
Yeah.
I put so it's hard to break something intentionally. Unless you introduce porcelain into the equation.
Oh my god, yeah. So then she starts like she's like I said, she's like starting at her nose and then like touching the thing and being like, okay,
as soon as she said that, I was like, fuck.
And at this point, Amanda got up and was gonna go to the bathroom, and I paused the movie, and then I was like, you know what? Honestly, we're both well aware of what's going to happen here. Do you just want me to... And she was like, yeah, if you don't mind. And I was like, all right, fair enough. So I'm like walking around the room behind the couch watching this...
so funny.
Watching this next part. Oh my God. Brutal.
It's amazing.
Yeah, this is so... When we talk about body horror, like...
Yeah.
This is
and
well
again,
into that fucking area.
Without, like, I mean, the pregnancy notwithstanding... Like, it came from, you know, what could be a supernatural force. Or at least in either reading of the film has a supernatural effect of this carrying out so quickly in the next, like, week or two tops or whatever.
Yeah.
You know? But, like, really so far, the pregnancy is, like, a physical thing. Even if there's, like, the leaking oil and that kind of stuff. Like, it's not reaching into your own body type body horror stuff. So still it's just like this deranged, just like watch this lady just beat the shit out of herself body horror, where it's just left field. It's not what you think when you think of body horror.
Yeah. You're just like, oh goddamn.
No, it's incredible. And like the editing also in this scene is what makes it so fucking
top notch.
Like perfect, because when she goes down like that, you like the cut just jumps back up to her like getting up, and like she's just already like,
oh dude, her nose
it's so
blows
what
up.
She was,
disgusting.
Yeah,
dude.
what she was going for, she fucking achieved. Her nose was so broken.
After this, I put like, this woman is a fucking powerhouse.
Yeah.
Like a force to be reckoned with in real life, though. Like, she's a journalist. She co-founded a feminist magazine.
This is the actress.
Yes, the actress. It's called Peach. She's a model. She co-founded a custom embroidery company.
Okay.
Called Cheeky Boom.
A boom, chicka boom.
Exactly what I thought about.
Let's see if I can...
I'm so terrible at the names, dude.
I'm going to try to pronounce her name.
Agathe
Roussel. First time actor.
First time.
No
this
way.
is her fucking first movie, bro.
I think she's been in a couple of like artistic videos and like short film projects.
But never this fucking like.
Can someone time travel to 1995, pick up Benoit Poileverde, and team these two up for a film?
Dude.
Like, oh my god.
Talk about, absolutely.
So much talent.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. It's a fucking incredible. Like, when you add that into the mix that already is a badass movie, this movie is just undeniably fucking perfect.
That's so sick. That's so sick. She comes across as like trained.
She's so comfortable. Yeah. One of the things I love about the nose break scene is after she achieves it and she's like beholding this horrible thing she did to her face. She ruined her
Smiling.
face. She's like, yeah, I did it.
She's just like
She's so pleased.
Joker grin, bro. I love that fucking shot.
It's like the
so
first time
much.
she smiles.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's because she's like, she achieved what she was trying to do. And she's like, in a way, she's proud of herself. She's like, all right, next step.
She set a goal
Yeah.
and she stuck to it.
Yeah.
I wrote here, Owen Wilson. Wow.
There you go.
So good.
So I would call this the beginning of part 2 of this film.
Yeah, I would say this is the divide.
This is where the second season kicks off.
Yeah. Because we're like, where the fuck? How does she make good on this?
And again, at this point, you have no idea what she just did. You're just like, what is any of this? Because she's like cornered. Because there are...
Yeah, she's like changing her identity, but like how the fuck does that help to become someone else?
I don't think we mentioned that there were police like all around the train station. Like she walks past cops to get in, and then she sees that there's cops like down the hallway of the terminal to board the buses or the trains or whatever's down there.
Yeah, she can't leave.
Yeah, once she's in there, she's just screwed. And
So I guess, she just went straight from that into the next thing.
Desperate times call for headbutting a sink.
Yeah. So this, like, not knowing the tagline, this makes this next part very like, oh man, it's so beautiful how you like figure out what's going on at exactly the right pace.
Yeah, I put that it was a tonal shift when Vincent shows up. Like as soon as he walks in, the movie just dips.
This guy walks in the French John C. McGinley.
Vincent Linden playing Vincent. Yeah.
He's
he's
fantastic.
Is amazing.
He's an amazing presence. He's
incredible.
Like he's a very strong
Stern.
man. He's a manly man.
That's
but he is a very emotional core.
Yeah,
He's a big old softy on the inside.
He's the emotional like center of this film.
Yes, and he's the heart.
He is definitely the heart.
And the same way she works a job that is centered around like femininity and sexuality and sensuality.
Yeah,
he being a firefighter, the chief firefighter, and just a big strong man. Honestly,
Yeah,
he looks quite imposing.
He's definitely a picture of masculinity.
He works a job that's centered around like masculinity and strength and virality. So again, that like heavy emphasis on gender roles and expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
We meet this guy. He's walking into, we presume, a police station, and he's being briefed by this man who's like, okay, well, we're gonna lift up the blinds, and you can like nod or shake your head. You don't have to say anything. We can do a DNA test. And he's like, why the fuck would I do a DNA test? Do you think I wouldn't recognize my own son?
Oh, it's so good.
And you figure out like he's come to claim his son that's been missing for 10 years that's been in this poster. And they lift up the blinds, and it's Alexia in this room. Ta-da. And she's got the hoodie up. She has no eyebrows. Her nose is fucking ruined.
Jacked up.
And she gives that look that she would normally give to, not the same look, but like the kind of, like...
Same vibe.
Yeah. She's looking up to her new father figure that she's picked out for herself. Because she's like, she probably walked up to the police and was like, hey, I'm Adrienne Legrand, the kid who's been missing for 10 years. And they're like, okay, well, we better take you down to the station.
That checks out.
The best way to avoid the police is to just walk up to them and be like, I'm someone else.
Vincent shows up and they're like, weirdest thing. Could have sworn he was just talking a minute ago.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he looks at this person who couldn't look anything like his son.
No.
And he just, you watch him think about it, and he's very, like, he's got tears in his eyes, and he's like, it's very painful for him, and it has been this whole time, and he's just like, yep, that's my boy.
I'll pause it right here that I think he knows.
Yeah.
100%.
I feel immediately right off the bat like there's no doubt in his mind that is not his son, but he is just resigned to the fate because he's so tired of looking.
He'll take what he can
He'll
get.
take what he can get.
Yeah,
exactly.
he's like, it's better than the void that I live in now.
Yeah. He's just decided to commit to this fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's been offered to him, and he's like, nothing like this would ever happen at this stage. Like, it's been 10 years, like, this adult person for some reason has decided to walk into his life and pretend to be his son.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'll play. I've
Jesus
been
Christ.
so lonely.
Breaks my fucking heart,
And
bro.
it's so unexpected. It's and it proves me wrong about the foreshadowing thing. But it's like
No, it's just because you're not catching this shit.
No, there's just so
initially.
much else
There's
going on.
well,
much,
I mean,
yeah.
because I noticed they singled out Adrian Legrand and that his picture showed up again, and then she looks at his picture again before she goes into the bathroom, and I just kept thinking, like, I'm like, okay, she's maybe mid-20s at the latest. He disappeared 10 years ago. Did she have something to do with that? Were they classmates or something? Like, what direction is
interesting.
this film? You don't think the film is going to go, this serial killer is going to
yeah,
mutilate
no.
her own face and pretend to be a missing child and get adopted? Like, it's just...
It's such a delightful surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And these are these moments of, like, it's such great humor.
Yeah.
It's so seriously presented, but, like, it's such an amazing scenario that you can't help but laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looks so stupid.
It's so uncomfortable that you have no other choice but to laugh.
Yeah, she's just done a horrible job of trying to look like this kid. And the transformation is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the fact that this woman was able to completely, like, lose herself in this role is fucking phenomenal. The fact that it was your very first on-screen, like, full-fledged performance of your, like, talents, it's like, bro, I can't get over it. That's what it really, truly, all of the performances, including Vincent's as well, like, they all make me believe in this fantastical thing. They make me feel like, like, of course she fucked the car. Like, why wouldn't she? You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like they sell it so hard.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's a very central thing to all of these movies is, like, especially as we get into things that are more, like, so far a lot of these things have been, like, pretty grounded other than The Untamed. But, you know, like, the more fantastical things.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. And I put, she's trying to dip out when they park immediately when they show up.
So he's taking his son home. And he's like, he's very emotional. He's like crying, like fully crying. And he's like grabbing her hand and she's like, oh, fuck.
Like,
This strange man is touching me. And he has a radio in his car because he's a fireman. She doesn't know this. She's like, oh my God, did I just decide to go home with a cop? Like, is my new dad a cop?
Yeah.
And she's like, I fucked up. And she's like trying the door handle and she's like, I'm out. And like she bolts from the car and he chases her down.
He got that old man strength and speed,
He's
bro.
fast.
And they drive onto like a barracks compound. I've when I went to Comic-Con one time in San Diego, my friend who went with me, his brother-in-law was I believe the Navy, and so on Coronado we were able to kind of like rent a room on the base to stay on. But that's
awesome.
the same. Well, it's pretty sketchy. I was walking around smoking blunts on a military base, like, yeah, this is a federal crime, and I will for sure go to jail. But
I don't know, man.
But Papa needs his medicine if he's gonna sleep.
Papa.
So, but the entrance was like very similar in terms of like there's like a little guardhouse and the like arm and everything. So like when I was like, she's in a fucking military barracks. Like what? Because there's military police in there. Like it's not normal police. It's dudes with like M16s rolling around in a Jeep. You know, like you don't want to mess with them.
I picked the wrong identity.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
to
it's
steal.
it's very good about being super vague about what his profession is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently
You know?
French firefighters live in like quasi-military barracks, and it seems like they spend their off time there too. Whereas,
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
kind of they're there all the time.
whereas
Yeah.
firefighters here, like one of my friend's dads is a Oakland firefighter, so he would go to the firehouse for 3 days, and that'd all be work
Yeah.
time, and then he'd go
Yeah.
home for 3 or 4 days, and then he'd come
Yeah.
back. You know.
Yeah.
God, that's such a strange way
But
of
there's just
living,
like
yeah.
there's just like 60 dudes that just seem to live here full time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one big family, which this movie ultimately...
Yes,
It's about family.
Yeah,
At the end
totally.
of
It's
the
a
day,
family film.
it is about family. And,
And I should
love
know Raw is also about
family.
yes.
Yeah, no, Raw is absolutely...
Also a family film. So when she tries to bolt from the car and he chases her and he catches her and he's like, anyone touches you, I will kill them, including myself. I'll kill myself.
That's such
Like,
a fucking crazy
it's-
line, dude.
I mean, out of the gate, he's such this amazing force because he's like, he doesn't know where his son has been for the last 10 years, and he's like fully committing to this fantasy, and he's like, I don't know what's happened to you, but anybody hurts you, they have to answer to me. Like, don't you fucking worry. Don't run away. Just like, I've got you.
I got you, yeah.
And she's like, what?
I think it speaks to how, as like somebody who's gone through like depression and suicidal stuff, like especially initially as you're like figuring out like wanting to live, you know, being like, oh wait, no, life is cool and dying sucks. Whoa.
Yeah, yep.
There's
yep,
this weird like not knowing, like sort of recalibrating your brain.
Yeah.
So it kind of seems like he probably has spent 10 years being like, is today the day I give up and eat my revolver? And then his son
Yeah,
comes back,
absolutely.
and so he's just like, I spent every day thinking about killing myself. I'll kill myself with no afterthought if it make you happy. And he's just like, what the fuck?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and I guess we should have actually added suicidal ideation to the trigger warnings because
Yeah.
there's definitely an attempt.
Yeah.
Definitely an attempt, but
Where there was
that comes-
self-harm.
Yeah, self-harm. I guess it was.
Yeah, but we kind of missed that one.
It blankets into it, I would assume.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, they've arrived at this firehouse, and it's very
Rayon.
late at night.
Rayan. That's how you say it.
Yeah. So
Rayon.
this firefighter,
wow.
Rayon, is like the fucking kiss-ass he is.
Yeah.
he's
He
a
is waiting outside the chief's,
Great read.
like, house
Yeah.
with food. He's like, hey, chief, I brought you some food.
Yeah.
And like Vincent, who is the chief, he's like, meet my son, Adrian. And I assume everyone in Vincent's life is well aware that like his son
This
has been
is the
gone for
story.
a decade, and like this is very unlikely. And Rayon's just like, oh, nice to meet you.
Yeah, there's that knowing look where he's kind of like, really?
Yeah, like, what, all
it
of
was
a sudden?
Yeah.
Like he probably didn't tell anyone. Like I'm gonna go. They found my son. I'm gonna go get him now. I'll be back. Rayon introduces himself as Conscience. He's like he says that's his nickname.
Oh, I
Everyone
didn't
calls
even
me
catch-
Conscience.
And
I didn't
and
even
no
catch
one
that.
brings
That's
it up
interesting.
again. He's just another failed rapper.
That's so fucking
All my
funny.
boys call me Conscious.
Yeah.
All 0 of them.
Oh, 0.
I've realized over time this weird thing about Rayan looks like I mean, the kid doesn't look like Vincent. The kid that they decided like to cast as his kid doesn't. He looks like his mom.
Yeah.
But this kid that's been missing, who is very swarthy, I would say, Rayan
Yeah.
looks like him.
Interesting.
Rayan wants
Yeah.
to be Vincent's son, and he looks like his son. And Vincent is not interested in him.
And
Like, this whole time he's been working at the firehouse, he's been sucking up to Vincent and
Yeah.
trying to be his son.
well, I would say, having not thought about this until you said that, but I would say that it feels like a distinct possibility
that up until that evening, Ryan was filling that void and was getting that attention from him. And he's like, hey, we're going to have dinner tonight like we do every night, right? And he's just like, piss off, kid. Like
and Vincent has just been tolerating him this whole time.
It's that like 2 dates at the prom sitcom thing, you know?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And these two young people are sizing each other up, and he's like, "Who the fuck are you?" And Alexia's like, "Oh, I'm his son, of course."
Step aside, kiddo. Let me show you how it's done.
Yeah, and the only thing Rayanne can do is accept it, because if he pushes back at all, then Vincent's gonna get pissed at him, and he's like, he's just trying to be that goody two shoes about it.
Daddy's playing favorites right now.
Yeah. So Vincent takes Alexia to his room, which is to say Adrian's room. Your old room, my son. With the toys are still there.
Just like how you.
Yeah. And
so fucking strange.
Dude, there are so many times in this movie where people walk in on each other. There are no locks in France.
Very open door policy.
Only on the outside of the door.
Yeah,
remember, he locks her in, which I clocked as being scary and strange. That's just not something that should be in anybody's house, honestly.
Yeah. They have to. This is like a period of there. I noticed many times in this part of the film there are trust tests.
Yeah. Yeah, you can say that again.
Between the two of them, and it starts right away. Like, she's like, "Oh, thank God, I have a room to sleep in," and she like gets naked, and she just undresses, and he just walks right in because he's like, "My son, I'm here to get your dirty clothes," and she just like barely covers herself up in the bed, and
the near misses are so good.
Yeah,
like.
She's like so pregnant and just so obviously a woman, and he's like, I need your clothes so I can wash them, and she still hasn't said a goddamn thing, and she like gestures to him like, turn around so I can finish changing, and he does, which is a trust test. He's like, okay, and he takes her clothes to wash them, and he like searches the pockets, and he finds the spike that she carries because she can't put it in her hair anymore because she doesn't have hair. And he's like, what is this? And he just kind of and he locks her in the room, and she's like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And she's like naked and pounding on the door. She's like, "Oh God." And then next we're alone with Vincent in his bathroom. And he's juicing. He's injecting steroids.
Yeah, question mark. It's never really
into his ass. And he's got a lot of bruises on his butt cheek because he's been doing this a lot.
Yeah, it's for sure steroids.
Yeah, I don't like it when daddy juices.
It's a very purple scene.
Yeah,
but I put
scene. His purple, reddish tones. Like, it's such a fuck. And the colors, like you were saying, like too. It's funny because like the play on the themes of masculinity when they're using very quote unquote feminine tones.
Yeah, he's like jacked on steroids, and there's like 3 of him in the bathroom mirror, and it's like fucking pink in there.
It's pink. It's like a pink purple. Like, and even like when the scenes with like the rest of them and all dancing and everything, it's just like very like purple and very
bisexual lighting.
Exactly, bisexual lighting. Exactly.
Oh, yes. Like, see, I knew it. I knew I had a feeling about them boys.
No, we're very comfortable with the fellas.
Yeah, totally. I mean, shit, you gotta be if all you're doing is hanging with the fellas 24/7.
Always,
absolutely.
So he's doing the steroids, and he's like trying to do pull-ups, and he's like he can't quite do them.
He can't do one pull-up.
He can't do it, bro.
Yeah, he's very muscular,
and the roid rage is so real, which is why he can't do a pull-up because he weighs so much. Like, muscle is just so heavy, like, you know?
But he's just so furious at himself, and he's, like, throwing a tantrum in this big, empty firehouse, which kind of feels like her car showroom.
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice the mirroring of that. That's so interesting. Oh, shit.
That's another great read,
love this
for sure.
fucking movie, bro.
And I will say, too, as far as the, like, masculine-feminine thing, like... Not like the ass injection isn't like a verified I guess, trusted way to do it. But like there are other injection sites that he could possibly use. But to just make it so that it's always the ass, which is a thing that dudes are so weird about, even like having their girlfriend touch their butt cheek, not, like even that is too much for some guys. So for this guy to be, like literally and in terms of a turn of phrase, like taking shots in the ass willingly as like on his quest to be like this straight masculine muscle man, Greek god that all these little puny, wannabe Spartans look up to. Like it is sort of like a little beautiful metaphor in there, like a little wrinkle.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
1,000%.
It must hurt to sit down. That was another thought.
He doesn't sit down.
He flops right on his back.
They're driving the fire truck. Sir, why are you like hovering? No reason.
Didn't bring my donut today.
So there's another trust test immediately after this, or the tail end of the trust test is he brings back her clothes. And he like leaves them in her room, and she goes through the clothes, and her spike has been returned to her, and she's like, "Yes, got my spike back." He doesn't know what it's for, but he trusts that she needs it, and he returns it to her. And then it's time to make her look decent, so he like takes her into the bathroom and like shaves off the rest of her shitty hair. And he
doesn't. He just starts.
He starts, and then he like runs into her titanium plate, and she's like, "Don't fucking touch." Well, she gestures. She still hasn't spoken.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Get off me."
She jerks back. Yeah.
And he's like, "Let me see that." And he like wants to touch it, and she's like, she won't let him touch it. And this is such a beautiful thing, like in contrast to her father. Already, he's such a different presence. He's always like, "What's wrong? What is that? Let me see." And he's like,
she's used to the neglect where it's like, why are you showing attention?
And he's very handsy and just like, not in a creepy way. He's just like nurturing, like as though she's still his like 10-year-old son. He's just like, "I gotta know what's wrong with you. Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And he's like putting a nose brace on her, which makes her look even worse. She looks like shit. And he like puts the hat on her, and he's like, "Now you're starting to look decent."
And she still has, like, you kind of mentioned how she chops at her hair, but just for visualization's sake, her hair is like uneven in every way imaginable. It's choppy. There's like a couple like sections that are like inches long than the others. Yeah, there's a couple straight bald patches. Like, it is all over the place.
Every thread is in business for itself.
It's like if Donnie Thornberry got a hold of some scissors.
So he introduces her to the whole crew of firefighters. He's like, "This is my son, Adrian," and they're like, and they're like whispering, like, "Oh, he doesn't say a word. He was like some kind of scrawny gay kid. What's wrong with this? Is he stupid? Why doesn't he talk?" They're just like talking shit, and he hears them, and he's like, "Let me remind you."
He's like, "Who am I to you?
To you, I am God." That makes him Jesus. And when Jesus has something to say,
when he's ready,
he will speak. And they're like, "Okay."
Which is interesting when she's immaculately conceived. That he would say that.
There you go.
He's like, "Do not question this. This is what we're doing."
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
And of course, Rand is like, "Yeah, don't make fun of the chief's son." And they're like, "You fucking brown noser."
You fucking kiss us.
This is all he has left now. So he's just like, "Well, I mean, whatever Chief says." Yeah. And then we go into this. We're watching the firefighters do their thing. They're in this burning building, and they're clearing rooms, and Vincent's leading the inspection, and they're like looking for anyone who might be stuck in here. And he sees in a cabinet the figure of a
right.
little burnt boy holding a toy, and he's like, he's fucking horrified. He like backs up and he's like, oh my God.
Yeah, which raises the question, did his son die in a fire then?
But his son is missing, so it's unclear.
I do believe that Adrian died in a fire.
But they weren't able to identify him or something.
Yeah, they weren't able to identify him, which I know from another podcast, a fire in real life can't burn enough to like entirely like disintegrate. Yeah, like it's not.
You'll get dental records for sure.
Yeah, it's not going to cremate you. It will burn you.
Mm-hmm.
It will do a lot to the chemical composition of your body, but it's not going to cremate you, and it's not going to like leave no trace of you. But I do believe what happened is that his son died in a fire. He was unable to save him. He is so in denial and unable to believe it that he filed missing person reports, and his wife completely, you know, and not in agreement with that's why she left, because he says earlier there's no mother.
Yeah,
but
she's just not in the picture,
and
because she's like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And so he sees this reminder of just like, you know, your son is dead. You know, this isn't your son.
Yeah, and it's even that
read.
this movie's so interesting because like they're very clearly in a burning building, but then they're like end the simulation and they turn the fire off. It's just like it's a practice.
And I did see someone online mention that they think he died in there. And that...
Oh, in the test room.
Yeah, because the next scene is taking her out into the field and bringing her in as like a firefighter. And she's completely untrained. And
that's a little later on, but yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. But just in terms of like... Don't you think that this person would also have like brought his 10-year-old son around and been like, "Hey, let's do firefighting stuff. This is the simulation room. Isn't this a cool thing?" And then he got in there and burned himself to death. And
I think that makes sense because they do so little explaining.
Exactly.
It's so open.
There's got to be a real it's like I feel this way when I'm playing video games. Like if I walk into a direction and it seems like there's nothing there, I'm just like, okay, somebody spent the time making this room. This is like there is a purpose here. You know, and it's the same with that. Like, there's a purpose to say he has a room that can like magically light itself on fire and turn off. That's in the center of this building, and he sees a vision of his son here.
Dude, I think you are right about that. Like the notion that he has continued to do this job is insane.
Yeah.
That he's able to do it at all.
Just so much denial.
He's been in denial for a long time, really deeply. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just as well as family grief is like a very strong thing in this film, whether it's the grief of a family member that you've like actually lost or the grief of a family member who just refuses to communicate with you. Like I know I've had that before where a family member has just chosen to isolate themselves and I don't want anything to do with anyone, and it's just like none of us did anything. Like, this is all totally internalized. Like, you know, and that it's maddening and it sucks and it's, you know.
So we've got this Vincent and Alexia at dinner eating in silence. And he's like trying to get her to engage with him. He's like, I need more from you.
The phone, even
like,
my phone says yes.
Even my phone talks. Look at this piece of shit.
Say we.
Say we. And the phone's like, we. And he's just generally
so
like
funny.
Trying anything to get her to speak. And she's like, I am just here for the food and for to stay out of the police's way. He's like, nope, you got to give me more. And he's like, still like up in her business, like you can see she's lactating underneath her jacket, and he's like, what is that? And she's like, don't leave it alone.
She grabs his hand without even looking.
She's like, don't fucking touch me.
I love that.
And
that's such a good fucking action.
She like remembers for a moment how physically capable she really
Yeah. And she like tries to leave and the door's locked and he like puts on some music and starts dancing and he's like
maybe if I strut for him he'll stay.
yeah. And he's like, but he's very expressive and he's like not really scared about embarrassing himself and he's like, just play with me for a while.
It's a very sweet scene and then it turns into like, very serious.
And he's trying to dance with like he gets very physical with her, like he starts dancing with her and she's just kind of like getting knocked around and then he's like play fighting with her
it
and
evolves into a wrestling match
because he's like if you're gonna be here and be my son, like be my son.
Yeah.
You be a 17-year-old boy, let's fucking play fight. And he's like smacking her and stuff and she's like, get off me.
Fuck you, Dad.
Yeah. And she like she knocks him down and she starts punching his arm and then she's like, I can't deal with this. She gets out the spike and she like goes to stab him and he's like, he's a strong dude, so he stops her and he's like, what is that?
Yep.
In a very like trusting way. He's like he's not worried about her
he's not
murdering him. He's just like, what is going on with you?
In an almost like, hey son, are you winning type of way, you know, like,
which is infuriating for her. Yeah.
Are you winning?
And then he's like, and this is another beautiful trust test. Yeah. He's like, you always want to leave, and he gives her the keys.
That was so good.
And she's like, I'll take those, and she fucking leaves.
Jets.
Yeah. And then he's like depressed, so he goes in and he does like a double dose of his steroids and like passes out in the bathroom.
Yeah, I was putting that, and right here again, another mention, the score is like genuinely unsettling because it's just like tones and like screeches, like metallic screeches that are kind of going on. And it's right here where you're having the parallel between the dad and like his attempted suicide and her like leaving but not like actually going through with it.
Yeah, she tries to get out of town. She gets on a bus.
It's so fucking well shot.
This
too.
Is such an uncomfortable scene.
Yeah, it's extremely unsettling.
She's
so unsettling.
She looks like this, you know, she's a very androgynous person at this point in this fireman costume, and she gets on this bus. It's very late at night, and a woman gets on and is sitting across the aisle from her, and all these fucking dudes get in and they go way in the back and they're being super rowdy and disgusting and they're talking about all the bitches they've fucked and just being horrible.
Yeah.
And they're like pretty much the only people in the bus, at least in the back. And they start like harassing the woman.
Yeah, beyond catcalling.
Yeah, they're just
they're
it's like verging on threat.
It
like,
is threatening
and at
behavior.
one point they're like, go up there and put your dick in her.
Yeah.
They're
it's just a threat at that point. There's
getting very hostile very quickly, and there's like 5 of them, and she's like looking at Alexia.
Giving her a look.
She's like, "Are you gonna fucking do something about this?" And Alexia is looking back at her in this like wild way. She's like very alarmed, like all the alarm bells are going off in her head.
Headlights kind of look.
Yeah,
like...
and she's like, "Me? I can't do anything about this." And the woman's like, "You gotta fucking help me out with this." And then it cuts to the bus leaving and Alexia is not on it.
Standing right there at the bus stop.
She's like, "You're on your own."
That fucking reveal is...
It's so depressing.
It's so depressing.
I mean, hey, leave it to a woman director to direct a film that not once but twice is just like, dudes, you're scary as fuck.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yes.
Rein it in, my guys.
Yeah.
Rein it in.
It's not all that different from wondering if you're going to get eaten by a bear.
Yeah.
It's just as unpredictable.
Bears are known to eat people. Exactly. Not all the time, but like it's a thing. It occurs.
Yeah.
There's a statistic for it. It occurs, like, you know, and just I don't know.
And I feel like this is a really good call to, like, again, for the foreshadowing, like, in the end, there's a callback to where, you know, like, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but the help me, I'm scared type of notion.
Yeah.
And, like, the how they kind of swing
like
back around.
Like, people being like, take a chance on me.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like they kind of swing back around on this later on.
Yeah. And that's definitely, that's, like, her films they have themes of family and also themes of like someone being disgusting and someone else accepting them for being this really like horrifying thing and being like, oh, I love you anyway.
Yeah,
that's definitely a thing that she's interested in.
Oh God, we have to do Raw at some point.
We gotta do it.
It's so goddamn good. The reveal at the end had me fucking screaming too. I was just like, this is master fucking cinema, dude. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see it.
That's great. So she goes back to the firehouse. She's like, well, I got nowhere else to go. I guess I'll go home. And she retrieves her spike from under the couch, and she goes into the bathroom, and he's passed out in there. Like he's his eyes are open, but like he's elsewhere because he's taken too much. And she like seriously considers stabbing him to death.
Yeah, that little hesitation moment is so wild.
She's like, fuck. And she makes a decision.
Yeah.
She like fully embraces it. And she's like, okay. And she shaves off the rest of her hair the way he wanted. And she like smacks him
cleaning him up.
She smacks him in the face to like try to get him. And she's like, and she speaks for the first time.
Yeah.
She's like, Dad, wake up. And she like holds him in her arms.
So yeah, it's such a warm moment. And then you get a little pockets of these warm moments throughout this movie. That's what makes it so fucking real. Like, it's a beautiful fucking movie.
So it's interesting. You two read it as a suicide attempt, which now I'm leaning towards as well. But what I read it as is that the steroids don't really work for him.
Right.
So he
wanted to try
in
more.
his grief and annoyance decided to risk it for the biscuit, as they say.
Because he goes for the wine too. That's what makes me think.
Yeah, because I think
he's trying.
I think he also he does some pills and wine as well. Like, but I think also like I don't know. Some people are just really live on the edge with shit like that, where like it's not a good idea,
you ain't wrong.
But they'll do it. Not advisable. But but also just being like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't care. Like my not son doesn't even care about me. So you know what? I'll do it. I'll do a double shot of steroids, and maybe I'll be able to finally do my pull up. But then he goes into anaphylactic shock.
It could have been a little column A, a little column B for sure.
Yeah,
like, it definitely could have.
He didn't quite give a shit what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
If not,
it's self-destructive at least.
Yeah. Exactly. At least that much. But I am leaning towards suicide now that that his thing was suicide. Now that you two said that.
Because he I think fully expected that like she was not going to come back.
Yeah, I don't think, and that's what I'm saying. It feels like he just didn't. He knew that he wasn't going to wake up from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, one way or the other.
Right. So the next day she's in Adrian's room, and I feel like in accepting, she's like, I am Adrian now, so I need to do a little research, and she's like digging around, and she puts on this yellow dress just because out of curiosity, and she's so pregnant in this dress, and again, Vincent just bursts into the room. He's like, what are you doing in here, son? And she's like hiding in the closet.
The fashion show? What did RuPaul think?
She's wearing this yellow dress. She's bald. She's hugging a pillow so he can't see her pregnant belly. Yeah. And he sees her in the closet, and he's like, what are you doing? And he's just laughing. There, he's just chuckling at her, and she's like, what the fuck? And he gets out this photo album, and he shows her photos of his son wearing that yellow dress. Like it was a dress he liked to put on sometimes. That was probably his mom's. And he's like, no one can tell me you're not my son. So like even in
it's such a weird like connector that he like it solidifies that facade in his brain.
Yeah, he's like, what a wonderful coincidence.
Oh, that's so
if you were really my
tragic.
son, you would have been putting on this dress, and there's like no way she could have known that would be the perfect thing to do.
No.
It's pretty brilliant because it's an incredible coincidence, but not an unbelievable one because it's a dress that kid's mom owned. It's a thing kids do. It's very in the realm of possibility. It's not an insane coincidence. So it's,
it's just this nice little thing that happens,
and it's enough. I think that as well as her coming back are like enough to cloud what logical parts of his conscience are left.
Yep.
Because like he knows, but I don't think on like a conscious level. I think he just chose.
Yeah, there's still a veneer of like this is still very real. Like there's still that little sheen hanging over it. For sure.
He's in denial by choice, but the results of that are, chaotic.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But I put like the movie like presents, so the themes of gender fluidity are like they're presented in a very loving manner. This is such a very like caring movie, and it's like
it's very sweet.
It's very sweet. That's what I'm saying. Like for as shocking as it is, like these moments of like genuine humanity shining through, it's so beautiful. Like it's such a jarring move to make when you've just paired it with all these murders happening.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Crazy shit.
But like this really might be one of the first times that I've seen a movie kind of present these themes in this style in essentially like a caring manner. You know what I mean? It's on the road to like normalizing it.
Yeah.
To where this
is in this really weird way.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like I love that they use that as a tool that she decided, this is gonna be my mode for using. Like I'm gonna use horror as a mode for telling this story.
And it's better that it's about fluidity and roles and expectations than that it's about like actual trans identity. Because I think that's would be a clumsy misstep. Because for one, you should cast trans people as trans people. And for two, like it's can be clumsy and difficult to try and get something like that across the right way if it's not, if you're just trying to make that statement and it's not lining up with like
it's not like genuine.
It removes all the trappings that go with that debate, and it's just about loving someone no matter who the fuck they are.
Like it's about her hiding out as a man, but it's not about is she more comfortable as a man or a woman. But then you've also got the elements of like she's got a feminine job that doesn't actually define her, and she actually has this like masculine streak, and then he has this masculine job that he wants to define him but doesn't truly define him, and then he's got this like sort of feminine streak in these certain ways. So that's
very true.
It's very true. It's a delicate thing to get across, and not an undertaking that I would have signed up for, but very well handled.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she did a beautiful job. So then we're in Take Your Son to Work Day. He's so pleased with what Alexia has done to decide to become his son truly. So he's like, well, come with us. And it's an emergency where a woman has called in because her son has OD'd in his apartment, and she's like afraid to go in there to see what's going on.
He could be with a girl. I don't know.
Yeah, she's like this weird, like frail little lady who's like, I don't know, I stay out of his business. And they're like, how old is he? And she's like, he's 42.
Ma'am, your son was on 4chan last night and he jacked himself into a coma.
So they break down the door, and they're like, he's like, there's puke on the bed, and he's clearly like OD'd on something, and they're like, Vincent goes into administering like air to him. Yeah. And Alexia's watching, and she's just kind of horrified by it. And
the mother
like
reaches up.
She's freaking out about seeing her son this way, and she kind of just starts to have a heart attack, and she hits the deck. And Alexia is like, who still doesn't talk, is like, what the fuck do I do? Like with her eyes. And Vincent's like, okay, well, I'm gonna teach you what to do right now, because he's like, he's keeping training. This guy alive. And Rayan's like, that's my job. And he's like, Rayan, go outside, fuck off. I'm gonna use this as a teaching opportunity. And so he's teaching Alexia how to do CPR using the Macarena.
Yep, I put the Macarena saves lives,
Dude,
bro.
Clifton and I were singing that song all last night. Da, 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 Macarena. Da, 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 Cosa Buena.
I never knew that Cosa Buena was part of it, and then weirdly today
I don't know why, but it was
playing in like maybe an SNL skit I was watching or something, and they said Casa Buena, and I was like, oh, would you look at that? It is part of this song. But
It's
I love
so
it. He's like,
fun.
blow or she dies.
Blow or she dies.
I immediately thought of the fact that for American CPR they teach us to use Staying Alive.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
Bee Gees.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that in a really nice little short film by Jim Cummings. He had a
Oh,
scene,
really?
a scene with that Staying Alive. Yeah.
Oh, which we're gonna end up doing.
We gotta do
last
some-
time we recorded, we did what was it, The Wolf of Snow Hollow right afterwards.
Yeah, which is so much fun.
We need to do that for this show, dude. It is such a fucking good movie, man.
It's a great one.
It is so much fun. It is definitely the most fun I've had with a movie like that
You
in
said
a while.
it's a short one though, right?
Yeah, it's like an hour and 20.
It's,
It's
a very
like,
tightly packed.
it's a tight movie. It's
Yeah.
so
Okay,
good.
for sure. For
Like,
some reason, I was thinking short film. I think you sent us a different short film recently, or mentioned like a
think so,
14-minute
yeah.
film or something. So yeah,
wires crossed.
no, we'll end up doing The Wolf of Snow Hollow at
For
some
sure.
point. Jesus Christ, I love
Oh,
that movie.
so fun.
I love Jim Cummings. Anyway,
Anyway, so Alexia finds that she has, for the first time, saved a life
yeah.
instead of killing people.
She was weirdly
Wait, that's
concerned
weird.
with a guy ODing, considering all the lives she's taken.
Yeah,
Yep,
I
yep,
think she
yep.
was just bewildered by it.
Yeah, all like the just
She
being in
came
that
in
setting.
and she was like the room smelled bad, and she was like, "Oh
Mm-hmm,
fuck, I'm not going in there."
oh yeah, and he's like, yeah, toughen the fuck up, essentially.
Yeah, he's like,
get in there.
this is what we do.
You want to do the job? Do the job.
Yeah, so she
Yeah.
succeeds at bringing this woman back to life, and Vincent is so proud
But immediately,
of his son.
immediately, Rihanna's like, get
Rayanne's
the
like,
fuck out of
I
my way.
fucking hate you.
Rayanne's
Yeah.
like, I wish that old lady died.
Yeah, so he like shoves. He shoves. Well, I mean, Alexia, but Adrian. He shoves her across like the room. He's like, "Get the fuck out!" And then like,
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, he's furious.
Look, I did good, Dad.
So then they're in the back of the fire truck on the way back to the station, and Rayanne is on his phone, and
such a good scene.
he sees the police sketch of Alexia, and
On
he's
his
like,
phone,
he's like, oh, and he's looking at her, and she's like, why are you looking at me? And he's like, so where are you from, really? And she just smirks at him,
Oh, that smile,
and he
bro.
smirks back like, yeah, fuck you.
I just immediately thought of the Ralph Wiggum, I'm in danger.
Exactly. That smirk she gives is fucking
Yeah.
gorgeous.
It's so
though.
good.
It's so
It's
well
a beautiful
done.
piece of acting.
It's so well
I
done.
do
She's like, fuck off.
I do enjoy when a movie plot that could be broken by one person rubbing two brain cells together when it's like addressed. When one person is just like, huh.
Exactly.
Well, what do you know?
The kid who apparently excelled at find the difference between these two pictures.
Yeah, one of these things is not like the other.
He was just so excited to find out. He's like, aha!
I
Imagine you
solved
shave
it.
your eyebrows and you still get.
And break your nose, bro.
Dude. So brutal.
So funny.
So then we have this beautiful scene that
Oh yeah, here we go.
I love so much.
Yeah.
It's just like the camaraderie of the firehouse. Like all the dudes are dancing to this.
I put Smokes and Future Islands with the
Dude.
fellas, bro.
Yes.
That's the band playing.
They're
in there.
drinking, they're smoking, it's slow motion, they're all dancing, and it's like purple.
It's a good song too.
It's such a good
really
song.
good fucking song.
The whole scene is purple in there, and they're hanging out at the bar. And
it's so good.
at the end of the bar, Vincent is hanging out with Alexia,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just having a nice time. And like one of the firemen like pulls Vincent up, and he starts to dance he's just really feeling it. He's
Just
like
vibing.
he's just so happy. He's got his son, and he's just like, things are good. And then Rayanne comes up to him, and he's like, I need to talk to you. And he pulls him aside, and he's like, it's about your son. And Vincent is like, we don't talk about my son. And
Damn.
he's like, it's important. And he's like, we don't talk about my son ever. Do you understand?
Damn. Just, solidifying the
Yeah,
fact that
and Rand's like-
this is denial hard at work.
He's like, I don't know. I don't want to hear it. Mm-hmm. And then he goes back to the bar, and he's like feeling a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And Rayanne goes up to Alexia and is like, you need to fucking leave.
Yeah.
Like, do you not feel what's going on between us? You're like taking up my space.
Yeah, I was confused by that line initially. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
are you talking about like sexual frustration
Well,
or something?
yeah.
But no,
And I feel like it
makes
was
more
worded
sense.
that way on purpose because she doesn't know how to read those
Yeah.
energies between people.
Right. It's
Oh,
very
that makes
obvious.
sense.
It's like all he's thought about the whole time, and she's like barely giving him a
Yeah,
thought.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
And he's like, you realize what you're doing. You're like ruining my whole fucking
that's so
situation. And she's like, she basically looks at him like, what the fuck I care.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she's
yeah.
like, she like doubles down. She's like, okay, fine. And then she gets up and she takes Vincent's hands because he's feeling, Vincent is having a weak
Like,
moment.
come here, Dad.
Because his like fantasy is being shattered again.
Yeah.
And she takes his hands and she dances with him, and she's like smiling at him, and he like brightens up again, and he's dancing with his son, and
It's such a sweet
It's
moment,
so
too. It's
beautiful.
such a fucking sweet moment.
cultural differences obviously like being a thing, but just speaking like personally, like from my upbringing, like a lot of the interaction between them, like a lot of the ways that he like kisses her and touches her and things like that, like I would feel really uncomfortable with my father
Yeah.
like touching and kissing me like that. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's more of that like breaking down between the masculine and the feminine, where it's like it's
Yeah.
like there's more of a tolerance for like if your mom, is like kissing you all over your face or getting schmutz off your face with her spit and things like that. Like there's a bit more of a tolerance there because we just have this like sort of nesting baby bird like
Yeah.
instinct. But with your father, like there's just one part where he's like kissing all over the side of her head and like kissing her neck and like her like pretty much her clavicle and shit, and it's just like that's kind of weird to be doing.
and
to
the
your
and the
kid.
sound fully is really
Yeah.
you like you can hear it all, and you're like, this is weird.
I mean, I think but like you said, it is cultural differences because I know like but I've kind of seen it, over here in America too. It's very rare for sure, like you said. But I've definitely seen like men being sweet with their sons. You know what I mean? It's like, and there's nothing. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's just a couple things in particular that are just a little like the dancing between them is very much like he's moving her around as if he knows she's a woman. Like that's not really how two
that's where
guys
you
would
kinda
normally
see-
dance together. Two guys wouldn't do
Yeah.
the like turning and twisting according to like
Yeah.
generic gender role
Generic,
type
yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
all this breaking down of like what is expected from a father to his son.
Exactly.
Right.
I feel like that's what the movie is doing very well, is that it's again breaking down these like expectations that we have for gender norms and stuff like that, and presenting them in a way that might make you feel uncomfortable, like you said, because it's not what we're used to seeing, but it is saying like this is a thing that is actually it's plausible. These are things that happen. Like these are relationships that are human.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's so happy that he lifts her up onto his shoulder, and he like spins her around on like over his shoulders, and she's like,
Such a good
ow, my
shot.
belly.
Yeah.
Because she's like, and then you remember, oh yeah, she's super fucking pregnant.
Yeah.
And because this whole time, since she's committed to being his son, they haven't really shown the belly much. And then you're like, oh yeah. And she's like, she's kind of injured by being thrown on his shoulder.
Yeah, that was like my first thought was like, oh, she is gonna pop.
Yeah. So then Mom shows up.
Mom's here.
Yeah. She comes
and
out
she
of
ain't buying shit.
Alexia comes out of her room, and there's this woman in the kitchen, this very like cool looking lady with dark hair. And
Yeah, she is got
like
that leather jacket
she's
and
very cool
everything.
looking.
She is cool as fuck.
And it's like she wouldn't know who the fuck this is, but like as though by explanation, like Vincent's like, Mom's here. And she's like, okay, so this is my mom.
He's giving her the cues.
Yeah.
yeah.
And this woman is amazing. She's a scene stealer.
So good, yeah.
And she's like standing there staring at this person that she's like, obviously this is not my son. And she's like, she's tearful because this is a lot for her to deal with.
She probably got her hopes up at this point.
Yeah. And she's like, okay. And she crosses the room and hugs Alexia. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to pretend you're my son for the rest of this afternoon.
Yeah, you literally see, I was going to say, there's no affection in that whatsoever. None. It's literally like she just wipes the tear and then she's like, all right, whatever. Like she just puts on that acting face and just like hugs her. And even like Alexia's kind of just like standing there. Like
that tear of hope exiting her body of I knew that it could not be, but I allowed myself to hope and to come
exactly.
here.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's so fucking heartbreaking to watch.
And then they immediately afterwards, she's like, I don't know how you did it, stayed here where it smells like him near his old room and all of his things. Yeah. And, you know,
she's talking about him like he's dead, even though Alexia is right there.
Right there.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I put the interesting fucking composition in this, like, in this scene alone. The camera is in the weird ass places again.
Yeah, the camera is up high.
Very up high.
Looking down on them.
It's so fucking interesting to look at.
And Clifton also pointed out she has the daylight coming through the window on her because she is living in the truth. And the two of them have the interior yellow lighting on them. Yeah.
Oh, I love our pod dad so much.
That's what we call mise en scène, baby.
That's so good.
It's beautiful stuff.
We're gonna have Pod Daddy on here one of these days.
Awesome.
He'll grace us with your presence. He's been helping along the conversation so fucking much these past.
He's been facilitating it by plugging things in and making sure they
absolutely,
run.
Yeah. He's also our producer, so
he's making this all function. Yeah, so she's sort of like, she's kind of curious about, she wants to know how Alexia came to be here. And she's like, we could go somewhere and talk. And Vincent's basically like, no, he doesn't talk.
No.
They say that's normal though. It's like, it's fine. And she's like, so she tries something else. She's like, well, I don't understand how you can live here with all of our son's things and the smell of him in this room. And Vincent's like, honey, Mom and Dad need to talk. Because he's just like, he doesn't want to break the illusion with both of them in the room. And he like sends her away. And he's like, you can't have him. And she's like, I don't want him.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that scene, dude. Oh, it's so well performed.
It's amazing.
So well performed.
And then we cut to her in the room unbinding.
She is just fucking
ravaging her body.
With oil.
It's not. Yeah, she's not well. Like it looks like she's her belly is becoming infected. Maybe
has she started to rip?
Yeah,
this is the first part where she's starting to scratch. Right, she's
her
really
belly
scratching.
is itchy, and she's like scratching a hole.
And I just wanted to point out, I forget which Queen album it is, but the one, it's News of the World with the giant robot man on it. That poster is hung up in the kids' room.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a giant like automaton robot man staring down at her as
That's awesome.
I do remember
as
that.
her oil comes in.
So she's got oil, like black oil coming out of her nipples.
Yeah.
And she scratches a hole in her belly, and inside you see there's metal.
Yeah.
So fucking
And
well
you're like,
done.
oh my god, she's gonna give birth to a car. Everyone, like, yeah, there are people, and like someone in a Letterboxd review was like, me the whole time watching this movie, I want to see the baby.
Yeah, totally.
What did someone else call it?
I don't.
What did someone you
Oh,
said? Someone else
someone
called
said weirdest Cars prequel ever.
it? So good.
And then, of course, because there are no locks in France, Mom bursts in.
And she's just ass naked, fucking hands
yeah.
and knees, oil
Yeah.
squirting from her nipples onto the ground.
Jesus. And we don't address it.
Yeah, she doesn't ask about that.
Doesn't address it.
She goes right up to Alexia and she's like, what the fuck would you do in my shoes if you couldn't mourn your son?
Yeah, that's
Alexia-
that's such a fucking line right there.
Yeah. Alexia can't answer because she's too busy dying
Yeah.
of labor. She's like really in trouble.
my
And she's like
God.
doubled over and she's like in agony. And this woman, bless her soul, is like, she offers her hand to Alexia just to comfort her. And she's like, basically like, you poor thing. Like, I don't know what caused you to be in this
I don't
situation.
know how you got it here.
Yeah, but she's also like, there's a threat to it. She like grabs Alexia by the face
Yeah.
and she's like, I don't know who you are or what this is, but you need to take care of him. He needs someone, you or
Yeah.
another.
Yeah.
And she's
So
she's
beautiful.
basically like, you better fucking do this.
Yeah.
And Alexia's like, yes, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. And then she leaves.
God, yeah, it's that scene is just so like shaking. Like it's just
so intense.
It's so intense because she's. I mean, again, like it kind of lends to it that she doesn't address the fact that motor oil is spewing from her tits. Mm-hmm. She doesn't talk about that, and I feel like that lends to maybe the metaphor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
that's what's trippy about it, and that was like one of the questions, and she was just like, yeah, if you saw it in my movie, it happened. She didn't address it. It's not important. It's just
See, like,
damn, because it does come down to, like, at the end of the day, we don't necessarily have to believe that this is a universe that like plays by these rules, but just that us seeing these things conveys this message.
Yeah.
You know, so
It gets it across.
yeah, but it's definitely at least more nuanced and interesting than like a dream twist type of thing. You know, that's
Yeah.
the cheap type of metaphor permeates everything.
Yeah.
And then we see just more examples of the two of them like committing further to each other. Alexia helps Vincent do his
Like,
injection.
Help Daddy shoot up, please.
Yeah, so she takes the needle and she injects it into his ass, and she's a little bit fascinated with the needle, so she like takes too long, and he's like, "Get the fuck off me!"
Yeah, apparently that hurts. I didn't know that.
I think she was like kind of in the way that she was too interested in the nipple ring. She was like staring at the needle, and she was
okay.
like pressing it down super slowly. She was like fascinated and
Yeah, with the
distracted by
actual,
it,
like-
and he's like, "Just do it or don't."
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like when she went to the bathroom door, and she saw him with his fucking pants down. He's like, "Can you come in here and help me?" And she was like, "Nope."
It was like, fuck no.
But then she ended up helping him. And then he's like, "Do you trust me?" And she's like, "Sure." And he's like, We're gonna shave your face. We're gonna make your facial hair grow, son." And they're just being sweet to each
Yeah.
other.
Which I pointed out later on, it kind of
Yeah.
worked.
Did it?
Yeah,
Yeah, literally, like in the end,
in one of the
you see some shadow, like some 5 o'clock
in
shadows.
one of
around
the
her,
one of the last shots of her, like
Yeah.
like specifically around like
On
the
her
rim, like vertically right here, and then above her lip, you can
It's a
see
trip, yeah.
like this muddy, sort of thin layer of hair, like just
That's such a trip.
barely more than peach fuzz, but just in these
Yeah.
in this area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So then they're back on location they're fighting a fire, and Alexia is there, but she's staying in the fire truck. and Vincent is out in the woods with Rayanne.
Yeah.
And there's this like really volatile fire situation with like explosions and like rocks are being thrown, and Vincent gets hit by a rock and he like has to lay down, and Rayanne's just making sure that like he's with it, and he's like, how's your vision? Is your vision blurry? What's my name? And Vincent doesn't answer him, and he's like, I'm fine, I'll get up. And he's like, no, do you know my name? And then he's like, do you know her name? Just being like, we're gonna talk about this. And Vincent is like, the fuck, we're gonna talk about it, let's go.
Shoves him off.
Yeah. And then I think Vincent realizes Rayanne is gonna ruin
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, he's like, I can't let this guy continue to fuk up my family life.
Yeah.
And they're clearing this RV of like propane tanks or whatever's going on in there, and he like hands this propane tank to Rayanne, and he's like, hold this, and he just walks away.
I'll be right back.
And Rayanne keeps saying too, he's like, boss, we're not following procedure. Like, we're supposed to do something with these. We're supposed to like secure them. Like, we're supposed to do this thing. And he's like, don't worry about it. And then once they're like out in the open, he hands it to him and then puts like 20 feet between them. But Rayanne does say like 3 or 4 times, like, there's a procedure we're supposed to do. Let's do the thing and make this safe. And he's just like, nothing bad will happen. Hold this.
Yeah. And that is presumably the end of Rayanne.
Oh, it is. It goes kablooey for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So just gotta get him out of the way. Which is interesting. Done. Like he's a man who saves lives, and like this, he's kind of traded places with Alexia in terms of like, he stooped to her level and killed someone.
I feel like he was like waiting for an opportunity with Rayanne. Like, I don't think that I don't think that he did it because he was like, what's her name? I feel like it's more like when he said, what's my name? He was just like, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction. I want you to die knowing that I don't give a fuck about you.
That's a good read of that too.
That's just how it seemed like. And it almost kind of seemed like it could have been another training exercise just because of how...
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's framed.
Yeah, like it's just strangely purposeful, and then they just find an RV in the middle of this field, but then they go in and they like start grabbing this stuff. It's just like, doesn't totally make a lot of sense, or it almost follows dream logic.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's unclear like what is this scenario, and like all the fire trucks are nearby it. It seems like it's happening maybe next to the fire station.
Yeah, and she's just like kicking it in the truck like she's just waiting outside while they like get an invoice. You know, like she doesn't seem particularly like worried from where she is.
Yeah.
It almost makes me wonder if it's supposed to be like an academy and he's more like teaching these guys, because they do all seem kind of young. And that would explain sort of like the barracks situation.
Like style of it. Yeah.
I was going to say, I just genuinely really like this writing style that's just like, you don't really need to know more.
It's not important.
There's
less talking, more more feeling.
Yeah, like you don't need to see the call come in. We don't need to like show like some kid playing with this thing, and then it starts a little fire, and then later in the day it's like becoming a big fire, and some lady sees it, and that like you don't need 20 more minutes of movie to explain this. There's a fire.
Right.
Yeah, they trimmed that fat.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Just very well done. It's
So then Alexia is taking a shower.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say right here we have the reveal. Okay.
She's spilling black oil. Just
the shot from above.
Yeah,
it's
from
just
above
so
you can see
good.
it like,
It's like
just rinsing down the drain, and
the oil just trailing.
The baby's hand is like poking, like they do.
I wrote, this woman is infinity months pregnant.
Yes, in a matter of weeks. She's very pregnant, and like the baby is like pushing on the walls of her stomach, and she is fascinated and for the first time pleased. She's like smiling because she's like, huh, there's a little creature in here.
Yeah,
She's
it's like I put right here that she'd like resigned fully to being a mother at that point.
yeah, she's like, she feels tenderly towards it for the first time. Mm-hmm. So, and then she has to wrap back up because this is just what she does. So she's trying to wrap this, like, she's like 9 months pregnant.
She's decided she wants to keep it.
She's wrapping it up and she's apologizing to the baby for having to do this again. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Vincent bursts into the bathroom and she manages to hide in the towel. Like, she wraps the towel around her, and he's just like, this is this moment. Mm-hmm. He's like, I don't care who you are.
You're my son.
You're my son. Whoever you are.
Yep.
Just making it very clear to her, like,
I'm the captain now.
And she's just like, oh, okay. And he hugs her, and she hugs him back. She's like, yes.
She embraces him.
And then the towel falls, and he's forced immediately after saying this to fully be confronted by the fact that she's definitely in no way, shape, or form his son. Mm-hmm. She is a fully pregnant, naked woman. Mm-hmm. And he just picks up the towel and puts it back around her.
He's like, oh, you dropped something there, son.
Yep. Yeah.
It's wild.
And then we have a rave scene.
Oh, yeah, I put turn up with the fellas, bro.
The firefighters are having their, like, crazy fucking mosh pit night.
Such aggressive dancing,
with hardcore music. Yeah, they're just having a rave.
A mosh pit can't be good for the baby.
And Alexia...
I wrote abortion via mosh pit, because that's what I thought she was trying to do, was like...
Trying to do?
Yeah, genuinely.
Yeah, it just seems like a bad idea at this stage, but, like, she's fully participating. She's just, like, getting knocked around in there.
Yeah.
And she, like, for a moment, she thinks she sees Rayanne through the crowd with his burnt face, like, glaring at her. But I think it's just, like...
Oh, I missed that one.
It's
I
guilt.
think it's a hallucination.
It's guilt. It's totally just guilt.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just for a second. And she's like, oh. And then the dudes are like, let's hear one for the chief's weird-ass son. And they carry her up, and they put her on top of a fire truck. And they're like, do a dance.
Do a flip.
Yeah. And they put on this fucking... slow song, which happens to be the song that was playing in the car with her dad at the beginning. And it's an American song, so it's being sung in English, which is really weird. Mm-hmm. And she's like up on this stage in front of everybody, and she's like, okay. And she just starts like dancing like super...
talk about a showstopper.
Super sensually, like a woman. She's embracing her feminine side again. She's just dancing very provocatively. Mm-hmm. And they are all like, they were getting ready to like cheer for Adrian. And they're like super awkward. Everybody gets really quiet. They're like, oh, this isn't as fun as I thought it would be.
A lot of weird boners in the house.
Weird boners, a lot of weird boners.
Crossed wires all around. And then Vincent walks in.
Why am I hard?
And he's like, what the fuck is going on in here?
And then he asks the same question.
Yeah, he's like wondering why the rave got quiet all of a sudden. He comes in and he sees her and she sees him and she sort of challenges him in a way.
Then she like leans even further.
She just keeps
it.
on dancing and she's like wagging her ass at all the men. And he's just like, he's a little disappointed and he's like kind of embarrassed because like she's just decided to go and do this in front of everybody. And he walks out and she's like, oh shit, I went too far. And then they like, yeah, it was like, he's like, how could you do this? Like, I accepted you.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be our secret.
Yeah.
And she's essentially like throwing off her act as his son by doing this thing, by being herself. And he's disappointed in her and she like feels badly.
Yeah.
So then they go off by themselves to be self-destructive in their own personal ways. Like, he gets drunk in bed, and he spits booze onto his own chest, and he sets himself on fire.
And then
that scene is so fucking
immediately
crazy.
it's
Yeah.
like fuck.
Like, oh, it hurts. And she climbs into a fire truck and fucks the fire truck.
Yeah, dude, she fucking lets that fire truck have it, bro.
Yeah. Which Clifton suggested as an extension of the metaphor is
I love this reading on it.
not her actually fucking a fire truck, but since all these men have seen that she is in fact a woman, she has self-destructedly gone off and had sex with one of them.
I thought you were
reads.
gonna say a group of them.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah, who knows at this point? But I mean, that reads though. That tracks. That definitely feels like something that
it
she
doesn't
would.
not fit.
Yeah, exactly.
So like she's doing something self-destructive, whether it's this abstract version or this real version. But and they're just like doing their own thing and like avoiding each other. But by morning, she is in serious fucking trouble.
Yeah.
She's like going into labor and her stomach is like splitting open.
God, the scene of her like walking out naked in the middle of the warehouse, or, like whatever they're
she just
in.
goes outside.
Just like walking into a field naked is just like fucking
See,
harrowing.
that's the thing that kind of gets me though. Is like as far as that goes, if she had sex with them, like. I mean, I guess they are all, like, so surrounded by dudes, maybe, but I feel like if this, literally eyebrowless woman with a destroyed nose, undressed, and had, like, marks and sores all over her body, and then had a 9-month
Metal peeking
pregnant
through.
belly and is like covered in motor oil. Like I feel like yeah, there's some dudes would go for it still, but
Someone's gonna do it.
I just feel like she's not the best
At least
way.
one.
But also I took it as she just wants this baby out of her, and taking it as everything happening literally. I don't know if either of you know that sometimes midwives will say, like, if the baby's not coming, they'll be like, you should try having sex and see if that makes the baby come.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I took it. Just she was like, I need this baby out of me.
Trying to force it out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good read of it too.
Yeah.
But again, both it's all. I love it's all adding to the conversation.
It works many
They're
ways.
all valid points. They're
Yeah.
all valid fucking reads on this movie.
So she's basically like falling apart. Her belly is ripping open, and the metal underneath is being exposed.
so
Her metal
good.
womb.
Yeah.
And she's like, she doesn't know what to do, so she goes to his room, and she's like fully naked.
Yeah.
And she comes in, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And she climbs into bed with him, and she lays her head on his chest, and she's like, "I love you," and he's like, "I love you too," and then she's like kissing him,
Starts kissing
like
his
she's kissing his
stomach.
stomach, and she kisses up to his face, and like she tries to kiss him on the mouth, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
And he's like
It's like he throws her off. He stands
repulsed
up.
by her, and he's like about to leave the room, and she's like throwing up oil on the bed, and she's like, "Please don't leave, I'm so scared." And he has this change of heart. He's like, she's a fucking mess, she's probably dying, and he's like, I gotta help her.
Yeah.
So he like turns her upside down, and he helps her give birth, and he's like, you have to push. And they have this like final
moment, yeah.
drop of barrier between them. He's like, push Adrian, and she's like, my name's Alexia, and he's like, God damn it, fuck it,
Yeah.
push Alexia.
Yeah.
And he's like finally accepting her as exactly who she is.
and the fate of his son.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's like pushing to get this baby out, and her head scar with her titanium plate, like her head splits open, and you can see the
It
plate
rips
in her
on the
head.
shape, dude. Like it rips. It's so fucking well done. It
She's
just
like
bursts.
a metal woman underneath.
Man.
And she like her belly is just splitting, and she you can't see it, but like there's a baby crying. And she starts to fade, and he's like realizing.
And that baby was Lightning McQueen.
It's got a little fucking thunderbolt on its head.
So he's like realizing that she has passed away, and he's like kissing her on the mouth, and like he's like, don't leave, I'm here, and she's died. And he cuts the cord, and he has this baby, and you can't quite see the baby, and then he lays down with the baby on his chest, and he's like, don't worry, I'm here. And you see that it is a baby, and it has a metal spine.
Like there's like protruding metal spine that's kind of
it has her scar on the head. Yes, it has her plate in the head as well.
Nice. Well, in that case,
And
then that makes more sense.
And that's where the film ends.
Yeah, we get a title card, beautifully done.
That's that.
Yeah.
I mean, this fucking movie, man.
It's
gorgeous.
The irony of, she wants anything other than motherhood, and he wants nothing more than his child back. And he is given the opportunity to raise a child again, and to do so with like a clear head and an understanding of like what exactly is happening and going on and who everyone is and all of those things. And it can't erase anything that happened, but like moving forward, he can make a better life for this child. And if he hadn't killed Ryan, it would be a better situation, for sure. But it's like, she cannot be justified or made the hero through any of this, because it was like
because of the things she's done.
It was a prison of her own making, and like he went to new lows because of her. But like we said, it's so much about family, and he ends up having this new family now.
And that baby has that sign of trauma, just a bit of it.
Literally,
But a spine is strong.
Yeah.
So it's both.
We'll see. You took it that way, but what I took it as is that it's like generational trauma, where it builds up as it goes down the line. She had the titanium in her head. This baby has the titanium in its head like its mother, but then also has this titanium spine because now it has to live with the trauma that its mother had to live with, but then it also has to live with its own trauma on top of that.
Yeah. And Clifton took the metaphor.
Bro, this is wild.
All the way.
It was pretty wild. He's like, it may be a stretch, but it's not like unfounded, which is, it's very interesting.
From my interpretation, she was pregnant due to, I considered the sex with the car to be her like being raped by that guy, and then this is the baby that she ended up with.
Yeah.
But his interpretation is that this trauma metaphor is so deeply rooted that there is not a baby at all, and her presenting herself to him in this super vulnerable fashion is her in her fully ugliest form, and she's like, please accept me. And there's a sexual nature to him, putting her in the position to give birth, and he has this notion that perhaps they had sex as a man and a woman, and that resulted in her being releasing all of this weird shit that she's been going through, and she's essentially reborn. And knowing that the baby has the scar on its head, that kind of pushes me in that direction a little more. This is her now. She's reborn, and she's starting over.
So I totally agree with that. I feel like she, I don't totally agree with that, because I still take it as literal, but I think she literally gave birth to herself and is given a new chance at life with a father who actually loves her, who she will actually love. And I did look it up because I was just curious. It was a thing that I was just like, I don't even like. This is what I'm thinking is she gave birth to herself, but I just got to see what someone else thinks. And I looked it up, and Laura, is that her name? The director.
Oh,
Julia. Oh
Julia.
my dear God.
It's late. You're
Yeah,
fine.
I'm very tired. So Julia did say she gave birth to herself, and she didn't
Okay.
like go super far into anything. But like I said, she's like everything is literal. She gave birth to herself.
Right. So
Interesting.
because we noticed that when she gave birth, her stomach did not deflate at
Yeah.
all. It remained perfectly round, as though nothing had come out of it.
Interesting, but it also is this like divine holy birth. Like he said, I'm God, and my child is
Yeah.
Jesus. But
Jesus.
he was incorrect because she was not his child. Her child that she gives to him is his new child. She was just
Yeah.
Mary. She was divinely
Yeah,
impregnated
Right.
to bring this child for him, you know?
Yeah.
And
Again, I love that it all works though. Like every single take
like all
on
these
this.
work.
Yeah, literally there are no wrong answers for this movie.
Yeah.
There really aren't. Like that's what's so beautiful about it, that it's so open to interpretation.
because there's that blended reality in terms of like you couldn't hide that, like you couldn't get the flat like boyish body that she has in 90% of the movie if you actually have that like prosthetic, you know, pregnant belly that she
Yeah.
has, which is like so
Yeah.
beautifully and masterfully blended with her body. Like
Yeah.
it truly, the whole movie looks like she's undergoing this transformation, like in real
Yep.
time.
And she's got that outie belly button.
Yeah,
That's so true. Yeah, I think that might be a good place to call it. We're running on another 3-hour episode.
yeah,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
This was
Well, we got to get them ratings though.
Yeah, for sure.
So-
Let's rate this bitch.
okay. Stop recommending such good movies. 6.
We'll try and do our
Nah,
best.
it's okay, but I just seem like I'll give out a 6 to anything.
No, this is
Nah, dude.
no. This one is
No, we just
very.
have such good taste.
This is a very fucking valid
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
that sounded like a 666.
it sounds like a resounding one. I think without
Yeah,
even going further into it.
We're not even gonna like hide it.
Yeah.
So I know we're running on limited time here. I'm definitely running on limited
Yeah,
sleep.
yeah.
But
Well, I guess
so-
we could ask the folks at home what they thought it meant.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, that would be great. We would definitely love to have you guys let us know what you think about it. We do have a Gmail set up.
Yes,
So
we
I
do.
mean, we could always like we would love to get some recommendations at an undisclosed time in the future. We're not ready for it right now. If you send them in right now, chances are it'll kind of go under the radar for a minute. But
Yeah.
we would love to have like the conversation going. So please, you
Yeah.
know, reach out to us on our Instagram, The Devil's Work Pod. We're on Facebook at The Devil's Work Podcast.
Yep.
And our Gmail is The Devil's Work Podcast at gmail.com.
Yes, sir.
And my question for today's episode is just going to be a very brief one. And if anyone decides to email us, you know, definitely feel free to weigh in. Do you have any metal or especially any Titane in your body?
I mean, I got piercings.
Okay.
That's about it.
Yeah, just earrings.
Okay, I had pins in my hand when I
Oh,
broke
shit.
my hand a few years ago.
I do remember you talking about
And-
this. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah.
But they took them out when it was done, and that was the worst part. Was like them wiggling to pull the pins out.
Ooh.
And then I had a hernia that the doctor thinks I was like born with, but it just never was a problem
Oh wow.
until it was.
Yeah.
So I do have Titane mesh in my like pelvis.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Does it go off at the airports like everyone asks?
No, it's just like a tiny little like microscopic piece
okay.
of mesh. But every now and then I see commercials that are like, "Did you get titanium mesh put in for a hernia?" And I'm just like, "Yeah." And every now and then I could swear I feel it, but I'm not dealing with this right now.
But thank you guys for sticking around. Definitely, like I said, go check us out on all the socials on Instagram, Facebook, and wherever you're listening to this. Please subscribe to the show. 5 stars. Comment on the post. Tell us, what you think. If you like the sound of our voices or not, don't really care. But yeah, thank you guys for sticking around. Please join us next week and
drive safely.
Please drive safely. Use protection with these vehicles.
Yes.
And use protection so we don't get all these damn unruly kids kicking people in the back of their seat.
Absolutely.
Break the cycle of violence.